Meeting to order at 6 o'clock, and Jody, lead us in the, you're the winner, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And here she is.
That's the plan.
Lady of the hour. It's not that warm out, is it?
Well, when I went to my first meeting, it was.
Okay. I'm going to call for citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments beginning here? No? Hearing none? Okay, this is the educational update. This is our fourth budget meeting. We have an updated budget as of February 24th. We have tonight we're going to concentrate on the budget presentation, which is this packet right here. I think we pretty much decided, I don't know, we can talk about it, but pretty much have settled on the numbers. We'll go through them if we need to as we go through the budget proposal. You all have a bound copy of the budget numbers by department, or by object code, or whatever we call them. I call them departments, by school, by area. And then we have a 73-page, which I did not print out. Thank you, Danielle, for saving me ink and paper. The budget presentation. Now we're going to start reviewing this tonight, and our object is what are we actually going to present on March 5th to the public and the Board of Finance. That's what we're looking at tonight. This is what, yes, Sean?
Does anybody remember what we've been typically the last few years, pages-wise?
Well,
This one's longer.
Oh, no doubt. But I'm thinking it's longer by double.
well, yes, because you have the backup
I
pages in the
understand.
back.
I understand. I'm just questioning what our effort is.
I think our effort was to present numbers and visuals, and that's why it gave us more pages. And we have pages with the pictures on it, so we hadn't had that before.
So I guess what I'm saying is, do we need to look at the length of time this presentation is going to take so we don't bore people?
Well, that's a great idea. Let's think about that. How much time do we want to spend in our presentation? Bill?
Right.
I'm going to defer that to you. What have it's been about 20 minutes to half an hour? And other than that, people's eyes are going to start glazing over?
Yeah, I would say 15 to 20 is what I was thinking.
Yeah, but keep in mind, we now have pictures which are not, I want to stay away from too much words.
Right, but it's nice, you can tailor the presentation any way you want, but give them all the information.
Yes, yes.
So that they'll have backup, or maybe they'll read through it.
I don't suppose there's any chance that
That's exactly
you
what Melinda and I were
tested
just
it?
talking about. We can give them this whole packet, and this
Right.
to the Board of Finance, and make it available to the public on our website. But when we get up to talk, we're not going to talk to this whole 73-page.
Well, that's what I'm asking though, like a dry run. Have you done one?
So Kathleen and I are going to meet to do one.
Okay.
And if you all know me, you know I don't love public speaking, so I'll go through those budget slides pretty darn fast. A lot of it's visual, right? A lot of it's those charts and graphs that you can speak to, but you don't have to go over every single data point there.
Right.
We just want to make sure, I think, that this story in this packet makes sense, so that when somebody picks it up in the community, it makes sense to them. And is it too cumbersome and are there slides we should take out? We would be happy to take them out. But we took you know how we had 3 budget workshops by certain departments, and everybody had slides? So we took all of those 3 presentations and we believe it or not, we condensed it down to this. But we thought you would put your eyes on it and say, yeah, you know what, we don't need that slide, we'll take it out. Or you missed something, and I think you need to put that in.
I mean, you're talking 20 minutes at 15 seconds a slide.
Yeah, but it just says not do every slide.
I'm saying, if we were to even just, you know, and obviously, like you said, there's some pictures where you might spend 5 seconds on it, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, but like, we're not gonna get up and read our vision and mission statement, I don't think. That's an informational slide that, we're not gonna read that.
Right.
But we may read the portrait of Thompson graduate, because that's a new program that we're developing now.
As much as it is in here for me, I like that it's, the transparency thing is covered here. Like, we're not hiding anything from anyone, and then you have the people that are numbers people, you've got the number stuff here, and then you have the people that are more content, like they wanna read the mission statement, so I get it, I get that you're not going to look at every single page. I like that everything is here, so we're not hiding anything. You can get and look at whatever you wanna look at, and you've got it all in front of you. Now, do we wanna tweak some of them? Maybe, but I like the fact that it's pretty open to both your numbers person as well as your content person.
I think that's what we did last year.
Yeah.
We didn't go page by page.
Bob wants to say something.
Last year it was 60 slides with 51 slides of presentation materials, and the rest were appendices. This is only 9, that's 9 more slides than last year's presentation.
Probably,
Okay.
a lot of them are
And
pictures.
the
Right,
pictures
more
take up
content.
5.
I think also a lot of the pictures are bigger,
Yeah.
more clear, so I think
Yep.
that's, I'm a visual person.
Yeah, some of these
Yeah,
are,
okay.
they need to see
So-
it
Exactly.
in the school.
It's good for
Yes.
the old people,
Okay.
right?
Exactly.
And
I
as
think
we
like
go
that.
through it, let's talk about whether we're going to speak to the slide, or we're just going to have it available,
Okay.
okay? All right, the Thompson Board of Education, it's available, we're not gonna go. TPS administrative staff,
It's there.
It's there.
all right, well, okay, so how are we going to just say information only, just available, or what do we want to use for show, talk to, available? This is just available, right? Okay. Budget timeline, available.
Yeah.
Vision and mission, available.
Steve has something to say.
Yes,
Look at
Steve.
bullet point number 5.
Huh?
Look at bullet point number 5, it might need rewording.
Yeah, it says maintain a safe and caring that fosters lifelong, so I think there's a word missing.
Who's Linda?
No, right where you were,
Environment.
Page
right
5,
there.
Would that be environment that you're missing?
maintaining a safe and caring
Is that
something that
environment?
fosters lifelong environment.
It's right
3 up
anywhere
from the
you look
bottom.
right there.
I think it's environment.
Right there.
Caring environment that fosters that.
Oh, okay, woo-hoo.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Good eye, Steve.
Fill in the blank.
Fill in the
Say.
blank.
Yeah, Made a note of that, okay. All right.
The next is,
So we went down on
I mean, portrait of a Thompson.
Okay, but is this out of place? We may want to,
You want to start with it?
right, vision of it, yeah, but portrait of a Thompson graduate, would we want to put that someplace else, like with our initiatives or with our?
That's funny, that was the page.
I think move
That's
it.
literally the page I was looking at when you said that, thinking, shouldn't it go there?
Yeah, because we're doing, this is one of our programs that we may want to move that somewhere else.
So we're gonna move,
Well, I'm not saying we will, but that's a thought.
to move that slide to what page?
Yeah.
To initiatives.
Yeah.
Okay.
District strengths, we should start with that maybe. And maybe make them smaller bullet points. No. Can we whittle this, this is a lot of verbiage here, maybe. Thompson citizens are receiving an excellent
So-
return on their investment. Can we take out some words?
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Yes, sir. You are a devil.
Yes.
Yes.
On the first three, if I'm sitting in the audience and I'm Joe Citizen,
Mhm.
show me.
Yeah.
Show you?
Show me.
Oh, you want to see the budget right away?
No,
No.
the first
Show me
three.
the
Prove
strength.
Citizens of the town of Thompson are receiving an excellent return on their investment.
I see what you're
Show
saying.
me. The town is deservedly proud of the school system. How do we know these things? We know these things.
Okay. Right.
We have,
But do
okay?
you feel the town is proud of the school system based on?
I feel, here's,
Some are, but
here's
not
what I
everybody.
feel about that, is the people who are involved in the school system, with kids in the school system, the families, yes, they're proud, and certain members without any connection anymore. They either had kids, I mean, my mom's proud of our school system. So yes, it's not a lie to say the citizens, because there are a lot of citizens that are proud of it, and then there are a lot that couldn't care less or can say they're not proud of it. But I guess I don't want to add to this 73 pages. I just want to know that we have something maybe that could be given as a handout, or go, hey, you know what, go to the webpage and you're going to see where we show you why it's a good return on investment. We tell you,
Because
you know,
the back, we have these things in the back.
you know, continues to gain external recognition. What recognition?
But is it here anywhere?
I-
If it's here, we
that's
could
what I'm
say,
asking.
see page 5 or see
Well, if
page
it's,
20 or
if
whatever.
it's on page 20, then that should become page 8.
Okay, let's,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, I didn't go.
That's
through
all.
it.
When I read that, I think like a citizen listening to this. That's all.
yes, Tom.
But I think if we're giving this as a packet, if it's a talking point, you can see it on paper, what we're trying to get the point across. But I think it ought to be added to what you're gonna say or whoever's gonna say it, that, you know, maybe touch on that. You know what I mean, what he's trying to say.
Right.
Not necessarily put it in writing in the packet, but touch on that.
And
Say,
that- and that's fine, too.
Here's what
Yep.
we would like to,
Yep.
and that way you say in the packet, you'll see our district strengths.
Okay.
I think that that
And
would
we
be.
have to find the backup for that.
Right,
And it is in the back somewhere, but
we need to find it.
Not
These are
necessarily
goals.
for all of these price, that's what
No.
Short
Right.
said.
Basic
yeah,
goals.
well, the town
Some
is
of them.
deservedly proud of its school system.
Maybe it's.
Sean,
Well, we
these
do
are
get
goals, and
external
these are some of the things
recognition,
we've done
and
to
that
get
stuff.
to that.
In this case, it's listed as strengths, and as a resident who wants to be
Staff.
convinced to vote,
Um,
as my uncle used to
School
love
too,
to
we
say,
can say
I'm
alumni
from
day
Missouri.
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The show me state.
Should we change the
It
word
means,
strength?
who says we're proud?
Accredited
Who says we're getting a
Or-
good return?
or-
We
You know,
feel
that
because we
slogan,
understand what
small
it costs
school,
of our
big
school,
opportunity.
and that we
That, if you ask me, that's.
I like that, I
district
really
strength.
like that, small
Yeah.
school, big opportunity.
I would say that would be a district strength in my
Yeah.
looking, you know, and just kind of
But he
shortening
wasn't
that,
from
trying to
Missouri.
use one of those into a bullet point.
You ever heard that?
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of words, and we really gotta trim down and bullet point stuff.
Of course, he also
We
does.
don't want a lot of white space.
So do you think strengths, district strengths, do you think that word strengths is a good word there?
Yeah, because you're doing strengths and challenges. We don't do weaknesses. Well, what would you use instead of strengths?
Or,
Assets?
Yeah,
offering.
I'm not sure it's a strength, only
Right,
because
no,
I'm thinking
yeah.
of test scores and, you know, where
All
we
right,
have
who's got a
opportunities,
thesaurus?
so.
Is there one on the shelves
Linda.
right there?
Yeah,
Well, that's where their brain.
the thesaurus
Yeah.
is sitting next to Danielle.
I
All
That's
right,
why I
so we
said
don't use
goals,
strengths, and
because
then
we're
we've got
striving
challenges
for it.
on the other pages, because we
Kathleen.
don't want to use weakness.
Jody,
That's why I said goals, because we're not there yet, but we certainly want to get there. Opportunities implies weaknesses, and we don't want to do
We
that.
have budget goals.
No, we've already used goals, okay.
so we wanted to maybe kind of like.
Yeah.
Who's got a phone? Yeah, go look up, I have a thesaurus on my phone,
Oh,
wherever my phone went to. It's someplace on here.
Or what if we wrote Thompson Public Schools District offers the citizens of the town of Thompson? Or, you know, or something like that.
Could be.
Yeah. I think that, just like what we did last year, is we pinpointed some words that, you know, can mean two things. So I think without being negative, try to pinpoint something positive.
Well, I think that was the intent of this slide. I think this slide was in last year's packet, I believe.
Oh, what was it district strength, is that what it was? Then we
Okay,
can-
here's the word, let's see, benefits, assets, perks, merits, premiums, gifts, rewards, windfalls,
Nothing.
fringe benefits, advantages, amenities,
Advantages. That's a good word.
bonuses, gains, indulgences, profits,
Do you
strong
need
points.
advantages? Out of all those.
What?
Actually
Advantages gained from something, I think advantages is probably.
A good one. I think that would be good, that's a better word than strength. I like that.
Advantages, yeah.
Okay, all right, district advantages, okay? Try that one for a while.
Last year you used district conservation. Oh. You want to be transparent and
Literally driving by there and there was a red IROC.
I feel like advantages, so that tells me you're getting more for your dollar.
I'm telling you, you should have got that. Those things are fine.
We'll try that, we'll run with that
Because, you know,
one.
what it is.
So on page number.
I'm fine with that.
And then we have advantages, we have challenges.
Opportunities.
Certainly have challenges.
Generation is value.
We can overcome them.
Z's.
They're more like opportunities.
I think Tom still has his
Opportunities?
Thinking of the SWOT analysis, that word,
This
this opportunity, and I can't for the life of me remember what the T is for.
How about opportunities?
Or we,
Where we
on
going?
challenges?
We're still back at strengths?
No,
Challenges.
challenges.
I'm okay with challenges.
Opportunities.
No, those aren't opportunities, these are not opportunities. These
Why
I'm,
not?
I'm
are
perfect.
definite.
For what's wrong with challenges?
I know, there's nothing wrong
This
with
is what we,
challenges.
this
These
is what
are
we get stuck on
challenges
every single season.
that we need to overcome.
Yeah.
I
Should say
know,
stuff.
I'm fine with challenges.
Yeah, I think challenges
Okay
is,
with it.
I think so.
I like challenges a lot more than I like strengths.
Yeah.
You're just grumpy today.
No, wait a minute, you're the one that doesn't like either of them.
I think this slide is good, because
Yeah.
this sums it up, basically what we struggle with.
Right.
And to give our students what they need. Right.
Wanna call it
I'm not happy with the word growing, rather.
Strengths and
change that.
struggles? How about trials and tribulations?
Increasing or down.
Last bullet.
Yeah.
Won't be the first
Or
time.
can we just take out growing?
No, no, either increasing or,
We don't
Something
put
like-
increasing, that's
Ongoing.
ongoing.
Yeah, ongoing.
Yeah, ongoing.
You did pretty
I got one.
It's a
So this
I
one,
like that one.
we talked about a lot when we were going over the budget. We wanted to put up front what the town contribution is versus what the state gives us in ECS. So we changed some wording there, and Danielle made the graphic pop.
Very nice.
I like those graphics, very good.
Nice pun.
Yeah, nice plan. Nice slice.
Does anybody know, and this might be a question for our Board of Finance member, how, on the municipal side, like, what's the share? What does the town get from the state from municipal side?
We'll get some on the roads.
On the roads, other than that,
Pretty much it.
that's pretty much it, isn't it? So, percentage,
A little,
Nantucket Pequot,
So the town funds 60% of the school's budget? It's interesting. Curious what the percentage is on the town side, no, municipal side. Just curious, I don't know, off into my head. It'll go out quick too.
It's good.
And then the budget history slide, just our increases over the past 5 years, and then Bob averaged the 5-year trend.
Worked for the library, worked for us, right?
Okay, the next slide, we took our budget increases and we rated that against the cost of inflation. And Bob, what was the data point you grabbed that from?
usinflationcalculator.com. It's a legit website.
Can we footnote that on the
Yeah,
slide?
put a footnote.
Can we footnote that now?
Yeah, footnote where that information came from, please.
I have I've got the website attachments on the notes.
Okay, when we cite data, we should always put it as a footnote on the slide, please. So we're not keeping up with inflation, except for the 2017 year. We've lost a lot of ground to inflation. Good point to make.
Right, because our costs are going up every year.
But not only that, I mean, if you look at our budget history and the increases, it sounds, you know, people look at a zero increase as flat. It's not, we've lost money.
Oh.
And so, we have our amount, and I don't know how to do this, and I'm not suggesting anything, but if we knew what our real increases were to stay current, and I don't wanna go back all these years, but you know what I mean, if I'm running my house and I know electricity goes up 5%, the oil goes up 5%, but my pay doesn't go up, you can equate that, you can extrapolate that out somehow and show where you're losing it. This just looks like we got an increase. We didn't get an
Right.
increase, we've lost. Every one of these years, we've lost something, and I don't know how to explain that.
So, could we find what our fixed increases?
I could do that, but just even based on this
Definitely
information,
last year,
I could
this year.
do it out. I mean, this,
Right.
If we could come up with the average rate of
That's
inflation.
I hate to say that, you just made a really good point, but.
yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like year one, you're a little
Give
bit,
it from
like,
each side.
year two, in order to, for example,
You
in
get it
order
from
to
the
keep up
left,
with
you get it from
inflation,
the
it should have been 1.9, you're going to 0.44, so you're already behind that, and then you have to,
We show our year-over-year fixed increases out here. What are our fixed increase year-over-year compared with our actual percentage of increase that we've gotten from the towns? Because it's like the anomaly, everybody tells us, oh, you never cut staff. Well, no, we have. If you look at the past 10 years, you look at where staff is now, just because that happened through attrition, not layoffs, doesn't mean we didn't cut. It's, they're gone, they retired, we didn't replace them,
Right.
you know?
But not only
So-
that, is cutting, just a quick, and I'm gonna play the devil advocate on this. You're going to have those people, and we will always have those people, their argument is gonna be, I didn't get a raise,
Sure.
so why did they get a raise?
Sure.
Kind of argument, so I think
Yep.
Union.
this information is fantastic, and yeah, that's the reason. But
No, you're absolutely right. And we know, we hear that, we have the debate all the time, and I usually remind them we live in a binding arbitration state, and we're following, you know, the
the
rules
fact
and
that we're already
regulations.
behind everybody else on pay, we're gonna get nailed in an arbitration.
Union.
I think what they're saying is a valid point. It's like, you know, we don't explain enough on how, like, we cut, excuse me, sir. No,
just because we say we're cutting program, or cutting teachers, we absolve a lot of that too, whether it be someone who's retiring, whether it be like someone moving to another grade. They don't understand like how that affects the school. There's so much change involved in that, and I agree with what Sean said. I just wanted, plus I wanted you to come.
Maybe a suggestion on this would be have
Can you
2017.
speak up a little, please?
For 2017, instead of the numbers you show there, show relative to inflation. So 2017 is a plus 0.68. 2018 is a minus 1.46. 2019 is a minus 0.81 and so on. Instead of showing the two compared, show the relative to inflation, what your school budget is.
Relative, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? The base, x-axis would be 0. In 17, you went up a little bit. In 18 and 19 and 20, your relative to inflation, you dropped. So just show it, and it'll show as negative numbers.
Yeah.
If your x-axis is a 0.
Well, could we do it like on top of we can show the actual number, but then have the,
Do a split.
You can do it with another axis. I mean, basically have on the side. I
Yeah,
mean,
like don't
what
make
you wanna
them
do with
do
a-
math,
You want to
do
do it with
math
a
for
line,
them.
yes, you want to do like a combo graph. So you
Right.
put in a line graph. So the difference between, I mean, I've already got it figured out. I mean, I can do
yeah,
it right now.
okay, do the math for them.
No, and I can actually do the chart, but you won't see it.
Okay. All right, and then cite your source, please. Okay, next slide.
Then just basic, the budget goals is really to maintain our current staffing and continue the newly implemented programs. We're not asking for any additional staff or programming needs. We're basically just trying to cover our operating costs.
But is it something to keep in the packet, or is this something talking points?
I don't know the answer to that. That's up to you.
Board?
Well, I think we need to talk to it, because that's really important to get across. We're not asking for
Yeah.
additional staff, this is to maintain the status quo. And there's a list, we don't have to go through every single thing on the list.
That could be the point, is,
Yeah, right.
is stress, look, this budget just maintains, and these are the programs.
Right.
Read them amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
And maybe adding in like programs that Thompson families utilize, just trying to get the Thompson family taxpayer, in there.
Well, these are.
It impacts all their kids, so
Yeah.
I'm students, so I don't know
Yeah.
what specifically, Danielle, you were thinking about.
Like maintain current staffing and continue to support newly implemented programs that Thompson public, or, Thompson families utilize, or something like that, just so it kind of
You're trying to
Is-
bring it.
bring
there-
it back to,
Is there anywhere in here where we talk about that, because one of the things she's probably getting at is, remember a couple years ago, we would be outside, not outside, but we'd be out at parent-teacher conferences, we'd set up a table, we'd get input from the families. And so is there somewhere where we talk about this is asked for, this is actually requested, this is what the families and the students want? Do we have that anywhere in here that you can think of? Because a lot of what we're doing is driven by input from the students and the families.
I would say even the taxpayers, because to be honest with you, Bradley Partnership,
Absolutely.
it has saved us, so, you know
Sure.
what I mean? I think
Sure.
by putting in taxpayers, it can be just what the families offer, by having that program, it has helped. We've listened to your tax, what you wanted in our taxes, what you wanted to spend your money on, how you wanted to save.
Well, the
This is
place
what we brought
that
back.
we can talk about that is when we go through the special education, because you see on that slide, you see our special education reimbursement grant go down.
We
But-
took that slide out, that particular slide, but it was confusing. So I know which one you're talking about.
Okay,
But
but that's where, because it goes down and our special education students have gone up, the reason it's going down is because we're not spending the $82,000 on our students anymore.
But by just putting this slide based what it's offered to
Yeah.
Thompson families, it's offered to the taxpayers. We are like listening to you, we're trying to help. You know what I mean? It's-
I think you also have to remember, when you're giving this,
Yeah.
you're gonna say all the right things. You're gonna say, this is for the kids, and this is for, but we know 22 people are gonna show up, right?
That's true.
So nobody's gonna be there, so it's gotta be explained in here
Yes.
somewhere,
Yeah.
somehow,
Yeah,
because
you're
more
right.
people will get the information from this packet. And I think that's an important point, that everything we're doing is for the kids, everything we're doing is responsible, everything is, you know, but we have to, and we're gonna say that when you make the presentation, but it's gotta be in here too somewhere, so people actually read it, because nobody cares.
They think every teacher is getting 3%.
It's me.
So would you put like a little description of what these programs are after them?
Or maybe an appendix somewhere,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. I agree with that point where you have to stress it's for the kids and what it's
Right.
done.
I agree with that too, but.
And it's just that, we know there's not gonna be a lot of people at that presentation. So if we have it somewhere, you know, and they'll go to this page and it'll say C page 80 or whatever it might be. And they say, oh, farm to school, oh, I didn't know that, or I didn't know about unified sports.
Yeah, that's a good idea,
Because-
maybe not clutter up this slide, but put C
A whole separate
appendix.
page.
Or
Yeah.
something, because
Yeah.
I really think that more citizens will get the budget information from this packet, because they're not gonna come to the presentation.
And
Good point, and then we could describe how,
Right.
what these programs are and how they are benefiting the kids. Correct.
because putting them up there is great, but nobody knows what they are.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
You
Tools
know,
of the mind.
what is, yeah, exactly, what is tools of the mind? It's something that
Yeah, okay.
I'm looking at.
You should know what it is.
Oh, yeah, don't you worry about that. Keeps me up every single night.
What are best buddies? I don't know, you know, whatever, okay.
Okay,
All right, got that, okay.
so we're gonna put a glossary in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's us.
So, can you go back to that slide, Melinda? Is there anywhere on here, are any of these goals driving us towards the whole NEASC accreditation, which is coming up?
Yes.
So I would also probably tie that in, because we're gonna have that, where what is that, another 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good call.
And then the only other thing that I haven't seen, and I've gone through this, is where are we addressing our math scores?
So that's part of the Alliance plan. We
Okay.
do say that, you know, it's curriculum revision and instructional changes.
Yeah.
So that is part of the Alliance. I could put a copy, make it longer, but I could explain what the Alliance is in the back. when
I
we
think
get
just
to-
have it prepared, you know, in the back of your mind, knowing that if someone brings up about test scores and results, you know, again, what are we getting for our tax dollars? And they see the results, so just have something that we can talk to about that.
Just to
That's
let
all.
everybody know, by the way, that it was approved today.
The
So
plan?
He said the plan has been approved, so we should be seeing the green of the money. So
Good.
that's good news.
Okay.
I don't want to, in my opinion, my opinion only, I don't want to focus too much on the Alliance, because that's a chunk of change.
That everybody thinks is
And
extra.
then everybody's
Yeah.
gonna run with, hey, you just got $400,000, and why do we need to pass that budget and cut it?
That's a one-time.
Yeah, but they don't.
No, but
No,
you
no,
know
no,
how it is.
I know that,
Everybody
but
always
it's-
thinks it's extra.
It's like when everybody thought we had a $468,000 savings.
Exactly.
No, we
Right.
didn't.
I know,
So-
Right.
so I just kinda wanna,
Yep.
All because one person kept calling it a savings on social
you know,
media. Right?
yeah, let's kind of let
So let's-
the Alliance stay in the background.
Yeah,
and-
I agree.
but.
It's there if somebody asks.
Yes,
Right.
we're not hiding it,
Right.
we're just
Oh,
not
everybody knows
focusing.
we've got it, but
Yeah.
if
Well,
somebody brings
legally,
up.
you can't use that money, right?
No.
To adjust the budget.
It's very restricted on how we use
Right.
that money.
And that's the key.
Well, that's it right there.
But
It's
people-
not
yeah,
allowed to
but
be
they
used
don't
towards the
realize-
budget.
They think we got $400,000
But
this year,
can-
so
But just-
spend it on this.
just make one
They don't
comment.
understand. It's like when we got that federal grant, and that, when I first came on the board, you got a federal grant.
Oh,
and you
yeah,
used
that
it
went
to hire
away.
teachers, and then the
stimulus
next
money?
year.
Stimulus money, yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
the our money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the money has state stipulations, which is what it does.
Right, but
Right.
I think it's a good thing to have in the pocket if somebody asks about scores.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what this is for.
It's not that we're hiding it, I
Right.
just think we should just be,
And
Should I-
it's not relevant to this budget.
Exactly.
Because we cannot use it
For
to
the
supplement this in any way.
exactly correct.
So there's no sense talking about it unless somebody brings it up.
Right.
Unless you want me to put together a slide that has to do with, you know, improving math scores, ELA scores, attendance rate, and graduation rate.
I don't know if we need to address it
No,
to
I
that
don't
extent.
think-
I
I
think
don't
just
think
be
so.
prepared to answer the question if somebody asks.
Yeah.
I live
That's
it
all.
every day, so I can answer
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
one.
Yeah, right.
I like tying this back to this is gonna also help us with the NEASC accreditation
Yes.
program,
Right.
process.
I think that's just all we need to say on
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And that's a good time. So this is the slide that talks about our fixed costs versus the variables.
Mhm.
And you can see that most of our spending is all fixed as far as operations and salaries.
This is a good slide. So if somebody was asked about what non-fixed is, would that be then yours?
It's,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah, because you're probably gonna get that too.
Extracurricular things that are in there, and what else is in non-fixed?
Non-fixed is supplies and equipment.
So I would probably put that in there just so that you get that person that's like asking.
What is equipment? Hardware,
Well, what I'm saying
janitorial,
is separates, well, okay, I guess my question was, you said supplies.
So it's
And
all
equipment,
supplies and all
well.
equipment. So it's like the supplies, I basically took all the supply lines and
Yeah.
all the equipment lines and added them all together, and it's only 5%. So it's across all departments.
Yeah.
So, like, it's, all the high school supplies, classroom supplies, the janitorial supplies, the custodial stuff, the maintenance, lawn care, tech, that, and it's amazing that it's that many, it's every department has got supplies
Sure.
and equipment in it, and it's amazing. I'm sorry, that's not a black and white answer.
But like, are the Chromebooks part of that?
Yeah.
Or are they in tech? Are they part of equipment?
Their equipment,
Okay, that's what, okay, so their equipment, a lawnmower
yes,
is equipment,
Yep.
not? Okay.
a burner shirt.
Yep. All right, thank you.
So,
These are important slides.
So, I always question how to do this better. It's misleading to a lot of people because I hear it every year that every teacher is getting 3%. And I understand that may be the average, but our biggest group, our top step, if I'm not mistaken, which means our biggest group is getting a third of that. And so it's misleading because everybody thinks the entire staff's getting 3%. And that's just not the case. It's not even close to the case.
it depends on how you want to break that down. I mean, you want to bring it,
It's just, I don't know, I'm asking everybody's opinion on how, because it's misleading. Everybody,
Well, you could
any,
put average teacher increase.
I know, I'm just saying, it's
Diane.
misleading, because every year I hear, oh, teachers get 3, and I'm like, no. Well, that's what it says. Oh, I don't know what to tell you, that's not what it is. That's all, that's what I get. And so,
can you put a
And-
range?
Sure, the average is 3.
the average is 3?
Yep.
But where does
Right,
it
and
start
I
and where
assumed it
does
was.
Yeah.
What level?
And the
I didn't
problem
hear the
is-
rest of your question.
So where does it start and where does it end as far as the range?
Oh, yeah, it would be the top step, which would be the smallest
Right.
increase.
And you
The
probably
bigger increases are
6, 7,
towards
8.
the, like 10, step
is?
10,
Okay.
11, 12, somewhere
Yeah.
around there. The lower steps don't
Right.
have that, their increase is not that big, but and it's the same from year to year too. Basically, everybody goes,
Right, right.
They don't understand.
It's just, I don't
Steps
know,
either.
I just know I get a lot of.
I could put a
every year.
range, so,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I could
think a
do,
range would be good.
I could do
You
a
put
rate.
vary by steps too.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
you think that should be, I don't know if
Because
it's.
if you look at that slide, it's
Yeah,
like
well, I don't
17,
think a lot of people
every teacher, no matter
understand
what.
steps.
If they aren't into the step thing.
Unless you are from an
Yeah, it's-
educational
it's-
house, you don't
it
know.
might be
what
better to-
12%,
It might be better to just put, for teachers, just put varies by step.
No,
Might
no
no,
number.
the average is 3%.
Might get stuck though, having to explain what step is,
You don't-
GWI.
Do we
You don't
need to
do
put
what
that
steps.
Why don't we just do the
To-
percentage?
Just average is 3%.
I'm an average Joe
and then
sitting
let
there,
them
and you're
ask
gonna
the
say,
question.
you mean to tell me they're getting a raise and a step raise?
So,
Oh,
so then maybe we
so-
have to say, teacher, average 3%. I don't
Why
know.
why don't we
Yeah, I
just
think-
break it down by contract? It's 1.5% or whatever it might be, or 2% or whatever.
Well, we've
what-
got
what
the
it is.
changes in salary, which is 2.35%, and we could put teachers' average raise 3%. And that's it.
It should be the same for administrators then.
All right, their average is 3.
Yeah, that's good. So I wouldn't do it. So I would do either my what it says in the contract, or just leave it like this.
So,
Come on,
Bob,
let's not worry about the small stuff. Come on, guys.
It's not the small stuff.
do I know what the highest number?
Go after saying, we're not getting a raise, they get 3%.
Well, if they're in the union, if you want a raise, go join the union.
So if we,
It's that big jump.
But don't say that during the presentation.
so,
Why, it's right on tape.
right, that is true, we gotta be careful what we say, but do we have to really put the 3%?
Yeah, I just basically
Do we
take the
have to put
salary
that
account.
any changes
Yes,
in
because
salary?
it's part of the numbering.
But it's,
Yeah.
Why can't we put like 1.2% and 3% and hold it like that?
Because some of them get like 10%. You want to tell somebody give them 10%?
I think you should
That's
probably just leave it like
So I would
this.
just-
Because if you get into steps and stuff, then it's gonna be hard to explain.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
simple, and if somebody really wants to know, we
Okay,
can
that's-
explain it
I-
further, but.
Steps can.
that's why I asked. I'm just throwing it out there.
This particular document is also going to be handed out as well and put on the website. It
Yeah.
has all its backups.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, the average, just, we could put average in front of all of them and that just quiets everybody down.
So the insurance again, same question I keep having, this is 19 and a half.
Right.
And I'm going to the book, and it looks like 17.71.
Yeah, the administrative costs are 0 increase, and HSA costs were 0. All right, HSA is, the health savings account, it's about $350,000. So those were flat, and it's weird how it worked out to be flat, but it's flat. Because I did every single individual person, and basically we got the plan back the other day, and this is something that you're gonna be asked at some point in time, why did ours go up 19.5%? And I thought being in a consortium was a good thing. Thompson is 28% of the consortium. It was 28 or 29%.
Right, and our claims were 38%.
Our claims are 38% of the consortium's claims. So, we had 6 people with $850,000 worth of claims. If we were by ourselves, out in the open market, we would have gotten, 19.5% would have been what we would have wished for. It would have been a massacre. I mean, that's a point too, but it's 17.11, and if you look at every department, it's 17.11 too. It's because that the flatness of the cost of the administrative fees and the flatness of the cost of the HSA and dental, which is flat, that brings it down a little over 2 points.
Kathleen?
You'll actually see that in the slide later on.
So why don't we just put 17.71 up here?
Right, because that's the number you've got in
Because,
there.
well, because the health insurance premiums went up 19.5%.
The premiums went up.
But that's, you say what insurance cost, our insurance cost went up. Actually, they all, net of employee
Don't ask me.
contributions, they went up 16.12.
I'm sorry,
Net of employee contributions, they went up 16.12. That's what should be reflected in the budget, 16.12.
no, because that would be that's backed out of your total insurance costs.
Curious. Yeah. That's, the 2021, 2.75 rounded, 2,749,694 is the premium.
No, that's not the premium.
Well, that's the 19.5.
Right, but that's not the total premium.
No, then you got 3,067,000, because that includes the dental, the HSA, the admin.
Right,
3 million, that's 17.11.
right.
That's, but then from there, we get 734.5.
No,
What do you mean, no?
look at the bottom line, that's the total cost of insurance.
What page do you want?
It's on slide 36.
You're adding employee contributions?
Because it's an offset, it's not, okay,
They should be subtracted.
no. No,
Why?
that's not the way it's done in a municipal budget. It's done this way, it's your actual cost of insurance. Your cost of insurance is not your insurance with the employee contribution added in. That's not the cost of insurance to the board. The cost of insurance to the board is after the employee's contribution.
Sure.
Basically the balance.
I'll buy that.
It's like- it's the
That's how much
balance
we owe.
remaining.
Yeah,
Yeah, balance remaining.
I mean, what we owe is part of your budget, not what we pay.
Right, so it's, for, the top line is the gross and the bottom line is the net, essentially, is what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
not what this is saying. This is saying that okay. So the gross is actually the bottom line. 3.8 is what we pay.
That's the net.
But that's not what we owe.
That's,
The 3 million.
We owe 17.11.
Right,
Yeah.
we owe $3,067,846.
Yes, and that's an increase of 17.11%.
Right,
So that's what should be on that line.
this is health insurance, I can change it to whatever number you want, that's where this 19.5% came from.
Well, that's our total insurance health benefits cost.
Right, that was what's driving our health benefits cost, is the health insurance going up 19.5%.
Right, but that's, I'm confused. I'm with the 17.11, because that's in our payroll costs. Yes.
Yeah,
It's actually 17.71.
It should stay the 19.5 because that's showing you exactly what part of your insurance portions are increasing. It's only the 1711 because your admin fees aren't changing because they're staying zero. Your dental actually came down, that's why you're seeing that 17.11
No, but
difference.
we also have HSA, which is a health
Right,
insurance.
but so then,
Yeah, but this slide is health and dental. So technically, when you combine health
Yeah.
and dental
Yeah.
together,
Plus
it's 17.11.
your health savings account, plus your admin fee, so our total health insurance benefits went up 17.11%.
So change that just
Including
to say
dental.
total,
Yes.
total insurance,
Yes.
whatever you wanna call it.
Right.
Just
is
put a
the
total versus just
17.11.
health premiums.
Total insurance increase.
Right.
17.11.
So much better than 17. much
Total
better than
health
19.
insurance,
So-
right there. I know the
Why
health
we call
premium
it?
for
Well, I think
the,
it's just a
with
clarification.
that Connecticut
It's-
chip
it's-
there,
If you
CTC.
look at this,
Most, if I
Well,
if
but
I
that's
have my
not our
gross,
total
because
health.
you have a separate account for
That's
health,
and that's
dental.
where we've gotten
administration.
So before we do that though,
Right.
We've had another question about this slide that might impact this 19.5 number.
Okay,
Overall increase, 3.8.
right?
How'd you come up with that number?
That was the question we had.
What's the personnel?
Because if you have salary change of 235, I'm just, personnel costs, overall increase 3.8.
Personnel costs is,
What
all the-
else is included?
okay, so it includes, what it includes, I'm just gonna pull it up so I can read it to you.
It's almost like we need a parenthesis that just says it includes
That's,
the
yeah.
wage increase, step where
Fringes.
appropriate, you know, healthcare, whatever it might be.
What it includes is all the employees, including subs, coaches, and then for the benefit part of it includes life insurance, Medicare, FICA, non-certified pension, severance, longevity, unemployment, workers' comp, health insurance, tuition reimbursement, attendance benefits, attendance incentives are all included in personnel costs.
So I think that's where it needs to say this number includes the following.
Here's why I was
Under the
confused.
personnel costs.
Yeah.
And get
The
rid of
reason
the
why I was
changes in
confused
salaries.
is
That's what I would
All
do.
the teachers, administrators,
I
and all
think,
that.
yeah, and just maybe put
How is the total
That's what I was
already
thinking.
teachers, administrators.
That's-
Yeah, you've got a lot of accounts that
Okay, just
are,
changes in salaries, Pete.
Take out the
Are flat.
percentages, it's gonna
Um,
be.
Just, well, you can leave changes in salaries 2.35%.
Right, but take out the.
All the other
Yeah.
baloney in
That's
there.
a small share of the total
Insurance
reimbursement.
costs, we
Yeah.
put that there because that's a chunk of change.
Later on.
Right,
coming up
and
this
then
year.
Donna to keep the three bargaining, you know, keep that in there too. No, it's not because you haven't got.
Because we haven't negotiated.
Oh, okay.
Because you haven't negotiated yet, once it negotiates.
right,
Fair enough.
like I explained.
But they're in there for some amount of money
Yeah.
increase.
Some more that have to be added to that personnel cost. I don't think that's all.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what what the town does. They call the number, but they don't say it.
So we're gonna get three, we're gonna wait
Okay.
3% and do a little bit.
So
of
do you
that. I
want
like
this
that.
slide to be changed to 1711?
Yes, I have notes, we'll go over.
Okay,
it.
all right.
Yeah, you gotta add some places, that personnel costs.
Okay.
I think that's raises.
Right.
Okay. All right, so we're on the special ed, 24%.
That's an increase because of outplacements versus
Right.
this year's budget.
Yep. And we can talk to that.
I would talk to that. Transportation is actually lower than projected in our contract. Our contract was at 3% for general transportation and 3.3% for special ed and field trips. Did I get that?
And athletics.
Did I memorize that
Yep.
percent?
That'll actually be in the
Add that in.
slide, that's in the slide later.
That's in the slide later.
Oh, we'll talk to it.
Yeah.
We'll talk to it.
I know that, and the reason that it's down below the contractual rate is because of the fact of the work that's been happening in the special ed department, moving transportation vans off the road. So we did see a slight decrease, but overall, our increases are up.
Oh wait, forget it. We get special ed coming up somewhere, right? I saw it.
Right.
Yeah, okay, all right, talk about it
Heating
then.
oil, diesel, and gasoline, it went up 12 cents a gallon, but it's also usage that went up, right? Is that on another slide?
It's flat, it's gotten to the point where it's flat now.
It's flat, okay, usage is flat.
And heating oil must be low.
Huh?
Heating oil.
And workers' comp and liability, 7%. I think we ought to concentrate.
This is the cost of it.
That keeps going up every year. All right, the dashboard. Should we put these up front, the dashboard up front, so they can see what the budget number is before we go through all of these slides that tells them? I mean, if I were there, I'd kind of want to see what the number is before I go through all the explanation. We did, right? No,
Well,
that's
no, we didn't. We went through all this other stuff first.
Yeah.
Went through budget increase, went through our goals, fixed costs, what the
No,
overall.
page 10 had it, page 10 had it, we just didn't concentrate. Page 10 had the history.
No,
Right, yeah, all right. We know the number, we know the number. Okay, never mind. Here's where we go.
And this is where we talk about the overall increase of 6.02%.
Yeah.
This is, and then we created a corresponding pie chart on the next slide.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you include the 2020 projected spending?
On the budget dashboard?
Yeah, only because it looks like, how we know people in town read these, it looks like you're spending $200-something thousand less than what the budget is for this past year, and they're going to ask you where that $200,000 is.
Yeah, we should make that equal the budget.
But take it out.
I think we should just take it out.
What, projected spending? No, because that should be,
Well, that's showing the increase in special ed.
yeah, no, we should actually make that projected equal the budget.
Okay.
We can't because we're overspending in special ed line.
Well, no, but the bottom line
Gosh, you can't project stuff that we haven't.
doesn't matter.
That
I know it's
hasn't
gonna
incurred yet.
No, you can't, because that's what we're building the budget from, is what we're actually spending. That's one of the reasons we're showing, we're over in special ed, that's why we're going to increase special ed for next year.
But I agree with you. Who made the comment about the $200,000 difference? How can that be?
Justin.
Bob?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry.
But if you have the 2020 revised budget at 18,693, and then you have the 2020 projected spending, which is $200,000 less than our revised budget, that can't be right.
I wouldn't put the projected spending in there. I've never seen it in a budget presentation going forward. And I look at budget presentations like
All right.
from everywhere. And the reason you wouldn't do
Yeah, I
it is.
don't know why we do
Well,
more. This, we go against budget, so.
It's more like 300,000, so I would take it out.
I mean, I'm sorry, I can only hear out of one ear, and I can't have more than one question at a time. So, the reason that you would just put your budget in is that you built your budget off your budget. I mean, basically, your projected spending is, you know, I can tell you, there are things that, the projected spending is not an accurate number, considering, for example, say, transportation and special ed may go down, is gonna go down a little bit, but you can't take it off your projected spending until that encumbrance is changed, until the purchase record is changed. So I think it just philosophically, from a projected spend thing, it's nice to get it in your budget reports, but when you're presenting a budget going into the next year, it's
Correct, but overall, that line has got to be wrong, because we're $500,000 overspent in our budget right now
But
in
even,
special ed.
this is a snapshot in time, so if I'm looking at this, I'm saying, where's the other $200,000 you haven't spent? So I agree, just take it out, so
Right.
that question doesn't come up.
Right, I'll go with that. So, and also it makes the slide less busy. Okay, just take that column out, hide that column.
You can say that, you can just say it.
No, it's somewhere.
No, it's, that's,
Right now, it
that's
looks like
that's
it's
the
going
budget.
348.
Everybody okay with this pie chart?
Well,
A little busy, but yeah.
And then I didn't know if this next slide was necessary, but we kept it in there. Budget breakdown by object colors.
I don't think it's gonna mean much to people.
what
Yeah.
the,
Us it does.
This other one is
The
Yeah.
one previous,
one previous,
definitely.
yes.
And you know what, you know what I might do? I might combine sports to give us one less slice of the pie.
It never hurts to show any pie chart that shows how big of a chunk special ed is.
Huge. Right.
So any pie chart that has that, I'm all in favor of.
Right.
Right.
Even if you just gloss over, you know, at least it's in the book. As many times as people can see, holy crap, it costs that much,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
You also gotta remember, it's 28% of our student population, 26.
But I guess on page 18.
Yeah,
do
we'll
we
just,
Want to keep that, or do we want to eliminate that?
let's eliminate
I would
that.
eliminate it.
This is one of the-
And these are federal and state grants.
I think, listen, I think. in this
In our
regard,
glossary that you're
because
adding to the back, to what Bill had said, I really think that it's important to put
with a year worth of-
What it is and
what it is
covers.
and what you can send it on or what
If
you can't
were
use
school
it
to
for.
begin with.
Yeah,
You
because
just
I
walk
think
in,
that people think it's given money that you can just, oh, let's just like this.
Nothing attached to it.
Then yes.
Right, I think that's key, I think we talked about that last year as well.
And see, here's where the Alliance grant comes up.
Okay.
Put an asterisk on it, just says this is not a year-on-year, you know, recurring amount.
Yeah, I'll do that in the.
So we can,
Something just popped into my head, and it doesn't happen often, so, back to the, like, showing that we're getting value. Remember back to the question of, okay, how do we show? This just made me think, on any sheet that we're gonna talk about that, if you're gonna talk about that, scholarship total.
Yeah.
And,
Number of placements.
no, what you and I have talked about how many times, scholarship total and college credit courses. Because that's actual dollar savings
To the taxpayer.
to the taxpayer,
Okay.
you know?
Goes
Into the
on
state.
page 7.
And on the note of scholarships too, not to jump ahead, but maybe where we have our graduation rates or information, might be somewhere to put something there, because of what, or should look at these rates and
What page is that?
66.
Yeah, I never mind doubling up.
Yeah.
If you put scholarship totals in 6 different pages, I don't care,
Right.
you know?
Okay.
I'm just, you know, if it's relevant, I'm
Yeah.
just, you know, I'm just
Kind
throw
of
it in
drive
there.
it in there, you know.
And then the next slide is basically other grants that we've applied for this year. We just found out today International Paper will no longer has funds for grant funding. And we do get a lot of money from International Paper.
They don't have any,
Specifically for
Yeah,
us, or?
they reworked their budget, and so there won't be any funds. Donna Fornia emailed me today.
Because they just released money to Daily Bread and somewhere else.
they're the
Maybe they're
second largest
shifting
paper
them.
company in the world.
I know.
They
But we're
have
great,
money.
we're thankful
Right.
for what they've done in the past, yes. we're
And we did
grateful.
get a lot of money
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
Donna's done a lot, yeah.
Okay, so could we put a total for funded here,
We can.
and then total pending? Let's do the math for them.
And
This one, I don't think we need staff by department. I think this is good for the back part, this is good for our appendix, but I don't think we need to talk about it.
This was already, Kathleen, this was already listed on one of the prior ones.
Right, I don't think we need to talk to it. Okay, good.
And then it becomes budgets by department. You got the high school dashboard, and all the dashboards are the same, it's the same information.
She was gonna cut that.
So there's the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, and then there's another budget slide by department. I don't know if this is necessary, but percent of overall budget by department, we saw that somewhere else, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. We've got a pie chart that does that.
Can we go back to page 20 from the?
Page 20, what's on page 20?
We have to change it to something,
Where it's applied to 2021 budget?
these are for
These
this
are-
year's budget.
Correct.
And people are gonna be adding that up and saying, oh, they're getting that much money for this budget, and it's not for the 2021 budget, and that's what we're doing for 2021.
Oh,
Every year we put a grant slide in of the grants that the district got for alternate funding. I can put alternate funding FY 1920.
Yeah, I
They're gonna
think
show
so.
it then, because they're gonna think that it's, that's how much money we're going to be getting.
20.
Or I could take it out, but,
I think by saying other grants, it just makes it sound like that's how it.
We're getting all that.
Back to, is it one that we stick in the back? It's not part of this particular budget presentation, but it's also backup of showing, look, this is other ways we fund.
Right, right. Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, something, yeah, I'm sorry, we were going way ahead of us, it's put back there.
20.
Yeah.
Too good.
that's a good idea.
I'm keeping school retired.
And then we went through the three schools. And then we said we were going to eliminate this slide.
Yeah, because we already have a pie chart that
And then
does.
we went into special education, and we didn't know whether or not we should keep these slides in, just to remind people that it's an educational right for special
I
education.
think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Previous years, there's been a slide showing what our percentage of special ed students are compared to the state average and maybe surrounding schools. Is there one of those
Do we
in
have
here?
that
So-
Do we
somewhere?
have that in the appendix?
I believe we do.
Alright,
No?
No.
I think it
Our
would be,
cost compared to other districts' cost, that is a double-edged sword, because you gotta remember, it
well,
depends on.
the enrollment rate for special ed, like,
Yeah,
so
the amount
if
of-
we have 30% of our students are special ed, and but the surrounding towns are 20, you can kind of,
They'll say there's something wrong with your special ed department, you're over-identifying.
okay.
No, I think that's very important, that we have 20% of our population as an IEP. I think that's pretty damn important to put in there, because
And-
it's costing us a lot of money.
To that end, if anybody was to say to me, you're over-identifying, I says, how do you know they're not under-identifying? Simple.
Because of the cost.
As much as somebody can say that to me, I can say it right back, you know? Yeah, sorry, we're trying to help kids. Our bad. You know, I mean,
You want that in the appendix, though, correct?
I think it should be in here somewhere, because we get a lot of pushback on the special ed, because they don't understand how that works.
And, I don't know, but when we do things like this, we need to cite our sources, believe it or not.
Where are you?
I'm in the appendix right now, we've got all this really cool information.
Well, Bob can go back and.
Right, I understand. Okay, I'm looking for, if we did have the households with children, SNAP recipient, free and reduced lunch. Yeah.
Well, we start the appendix section.
All right, let's, well, we have a graph that has the number of IEPs. We have 71% of our students are in general education, on page 30. I have a graph.
Sean, you asked about these.
These slides too, these slides I love to see, because we still, if you remember, a year or two ago, we had somebody down at one of the town meetings who literally was out in public talking about the fact that the school, because he didn't know any better, didn't know that the school paid for special education.
Right.
Didn't even know we paid, because he thought it was still 1980.
That's the
where
one
this-
that I went out to the
No,
parking
no,
lot.
no, this wasn't even like a typical naysayer. It was actually somebody who was interested and was shocked when he heard that we paid, I don't remember who it was, I just remember it wasn't like somebody that was an off-the-wall negative about everything. He just didn't know that the school paid, because the last time he had heard anything was whatever, in 85, 87, 90, whenever it was, when the state was paying for it.
But we said we were gonna keep this slide, right?
Yeah, all this stuff, anything, and the next one too, though, least restricted, explaining that there's costs to this and we have to do that. We don't have a choice. And somewhere it should also say, I don't know where it would be the right spot to put it, if it's the free appropriate one or not, that's through age 21.
Yes.
Mhm.
Doesn't stop at that.
Especially when we're talking back about our $400,000, cost differential was a kid that was 21. And that's still costing us $400,000. Well,
That
it
child's
was.
long gone.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is that's a $400,000 hit for somebody that's 21 years old. People in town have no idea we have to do that.
Right.
You know,
Kathleen?
stop
Yes.
graduation.
Yeah.
Page 30, what Jess was saying, the comparison of the towns, can you put something at the bottom of that slide that basically would have? I mean,
Like percent of special ed and normal.
yeah, how we rate, rate, or, I don't know, like rate, I don't wanna rate students, cause it's a tough thing. I mean, but put something at the bottom that basically say how we compare, what do I say? And other surrounding towns.
I don't know, do we have that number?
Yes, we can get it.
Okay.
But I think,
All
I
right.
think that would be a good place to put that without adding it somewhere else.
Okay, all right. And then I would suggest that in our glossary that we're comparing, explain what IEP is and what a 504 is, and OOD is.
Yes. I think education is the key,
Yep,
whether they read it or not,
yep.
it's there, cause
Yep.
it's always good to have it.
We get to off-site, outplacement versus on-site, and just the tuition that it costs for, on-site means Bradley program. And do you want me to put Bradley program rather than,
Yeah,
I would.
Yep.
Why,
Makes it
why
connection.
are two state reimbursements? What's the difference?
why is there two state reimbursements on that first line?
Transportation.
One's a percentage and
One's a
one's actual
percent, one's a
dollars.
dollar.
One's the percent that we get reimbursed and one's dollars. But you should say state reimbursement percentage sign after one of them. And then maybe dollar sign, so you don't get confused.
What, forget it. Okay. So, somewhere in this presentation, so whether it's here, and that's why I asked before when we get to special education, somewhere can we talk about actually experiencing the worst case scenario that I kept bringing up last spring, that I don't think a lot of people believed could happen and has happened, which is the quote 10 students at 82 grand that we don't get it done, because I guarantee you there were even people on the board of finance that didn't understand the difference between going over budget
Yeah.
versus excess cost. And
So we took that excess, the one that Chris used as an example in his presentation?
Yeah.
We took that out because we thought it would be confusing.
So I'm not, essentially, I'm just saying this year, and I don't want to oversimplify, so if I am, tell me I'm wrong, but it appears, and I asked this question a couple times in our meetings, it appears as though we've had roughly 10 kids cost us right around the threshold, but not over the threshold. And I can do math, 10 times 82 is a lot of money. That we don't get any extra.
I think we need to put a footnote here, though, that says, we are on the hook for the first $82,000.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that, still, this is,
Yeah.
But
To
this
the-
one's kind of misleading. This should say example or something
Sure,
like that.
yep, that's a good
Because-
point.
Because not every tuition is 75,000 and not every transportation is that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
this could be an example of an outplacement and an example compared to Bradley.
But either place, Bill, it should be that
It is
the town is on the hook for the first
Right.
92.
Okay, so where it says excess cost threshold, you could also put our cost.
Yeah,
or
town.
something.
Town cost.
Right,
Town share or something.
I like town share.
I don't.
How about towns?
It's not a share,
Obligation.
Town's obligation.
it's the obligation.
Schools on.
We're not sharing anything.
I just still somewhere want to remind everybody that overspending is not excess cost. The two are not the same. There are people who think that 800, let's just use $820,000, oh, well, that's all excess, so you'll get money back. No,
No.
we didn't hit it, because it's not a total thing, it's a per student thing.
Right, right.
And they don't get that. I still hear it from people.
That's not overspending, because we cannot overspend
Correct.
We can overspend in that line item.
in special ed, but you have to say what that's all about. You
I
can't
understand
say,
that.
because we can't knowingly overspend.
No, but it's all, this whole discussion is special ed.
We know that.
And the
Saying-
Board of Finance knows it, and,
No, they don't.
okay, last year's Board of Finance all understood. This year's, I'm not sure about, but,
They don't, because,
no, I know.
but if we're going to clarify this, let's clarify
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's just, that, to me, that's very important, because
Why
I know
don't I
many times
bring
I
back the slides that Chris had initially, and let's take a look at those next time
Yeah.
as to which
Yeah.
ones we prefer.
Right, right. Yeah, because we have to keep driving this one home.
That,
Yeah.
it's just, it's huge. It's apples and dump trucks, and they didn't understand
It's
it.
what's gonna get us in trouble this year, and it probably
Right.
every other year.
Exactly.
And you need every town in the area.
And I was just gonna say, by the way, us and everybody else, pay attention to Winnie, right?
Yeah, Plainfield just
I mean,
got
I
jammed.
followed their news, everybody's dealing with it, so,
Last year, Killingly went back and had asked for $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Wow.
Plainfield too.
yeah, everybody
Yeah,
does.
that's what I think it was more than just the rest.
How about that go? So,
Okay.
every little
So,
accident that happens everywhere.
then I like this slide, it's where all the special education budget goes.
Yeah.
Last night, a dead woman.
How much goes to each school to support students, and you can see that still our out-of-district costs exceed any of the budgets in any of our individual schools.
Yeah.
So then, Chris put initiatives that are happening in the special ed department specifically.
We need to change it to special ed education. You need to identify that for initiatives.
Just saying. Saturday night, 6 cruises, Blaine Hill tracks.
Yeah.
It wasn't the
We
train.
didn't know whether or not we should keep this one in,
Flying down.
but I did have Danielle, because the excess cost that went back to the town over time, over the past several years, this is the only year, when you see it in green, that the Board of Ed actually saw that money come back to the Board of Ed's budget.
I think that's important, Kate, because people in the town don't realize that the school never got that money back in the town.
Well, not only for that reason, but you do see it dropping now because we're making every effort to bring the students through the Bradley program back into the school. One of the reasons we're not getting a lot of reimbursement is because we're keeping the cost below that $82,000 threshold. There's several reasons that this cost is now dropping. So in the long run, you know, we
But
may
it
be
is
shooting.
gonna go back up a little bit, because it really dropped in 2018, and then we've been steadily going back up.
Right, but
Yeah.
there's a couple of things causing
Right.
that. The fluctuation in and out of town, the turnover in students. You know, last year we had 16 students, this year we have 26, but we're still keeping it, the reimbursement cost down.
And there were some students that were just not being appropriately supported.
Right, well, we don't want to say that, but.
But that's why I think some of those numbers pop back up.
Yes.
So just to clarify, this past year is the only year we've received any of the excess cost grant back to the Board of Ed, essentially accounts.
This current year?
Yeah.
This current year, so last year we received, this year we received 351,160. That's what we're projected to receive, right, Bob?
So what happened with the with the ECS funds prior to that?
Went back to the town.
And then the town just held on to it and, okay, I just wanted that clarified.
We overspent our budget
Mhm.
by,
And we had to cut back in other areas because
Yeah.
the town didn't release those funds.
but we never really forced them into it. This past year we did. We told them that it belongs to us, by law it belongs to us, and we want it, and that's what we're doing.
No, I think that's important to keep in here.
And we get into district-wide, and we get into, the health and dental slide.
I think the health and dental can go into the appendix. I don't know that we need to go through that. It's detail that they can read. We've already said how much it went up on one of our slides, and if they want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, they can look in the
Yeah, this is-
appendix.
Yeah.
Okay. The next slide is our general ed tuition. I think people need to know this.
Yes, this slide I wish was closer, maybe before,
Do you want to bring it up to the front?
when you're before the special ed. Because again, you know, our taxpayers don't understand that these students that attend these schools, it comes out of the Thompson taxpayers' pocket. And it's very important. We respect that they wanna go to these schools, but they have to understand this comes out of the Board of Education's budget.
Well, at
The
least
only-
transportation to Ellis.
Right.
I was just gonna
The
ask
only
that.
thing- Yeah, the only thing that's not in here, so we gotta be careful, because that's not the total cost to
No,
send
but it
these
just says
students.
tuition. It does say
Right.
tuition.
I know, but
And I-
maybe we should have the line item, which
Yeah.
is the total cost.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Say
It was
that because
transportation costs.
if
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
reading this, I'd say, well, it's cheaper to send
Yeah.
them to Killingly.
Exactly.
Let's send them all
Right.
there.
Exactly.
So let's put in the transportation or whatever.
Yeah,
Right,
and I
right.
agree moving it before the special ed, general ed, and then.
Oh, no, I
Before
agree.
special ed,
I agree.
okay.
100%.
Because it is a
You're all
district
in.
I was
policy.
thinking
You're
the
all
same
in.
thing.
And
Any of
we'll
that-
be in
Any
transportation
of that
to
state
Ellis.
reimbursed?
Ellis, BOAG,
Want the
QMC.
100%?
Yep.
Zero reimbursement.
Yeah, you're way under the threshold.
The key thing too,
Yes?
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, no,
Just
you finish,
before
you
I-
finish.
Because I'll lose it.
Yep.
Okay.
The big thing is also is that the Thompson taxpayer does not understand also that special ed costs for the students that attend here, right? We pay for those, correct?
What schools do we pay extra for the special ed out of out of the magnets?
We have one kid that gets some additional services at QMC.
QMC, yeah.
BOAG does, I mean, not BOAG, but we don't have anybody in BOAG, and then
Ellis, we don't have.
But if
the
somebody
tech
from-
schools don't.
If somebody from Killingly, though, a student that goes there, if they have like an IEP or like need services, does that money get absorbed by the Killingly school system or by Thompson?
If they're a Thompson student.
Thompson resident, yeah. Thompson student,
Yeah.
yeah, same as, yep.
It just so happens there's only one right now.
Right, but regardless of the number, I think it's a key thing, the community does not understand that. Right. It still
That
comes
would
out of
be
the
an extra
the tax. It doesn't have to be on the slide. I just wanna make it known that we are responsible for Thompson taxpayers.
Well, then we took
just
out the
like-
slide about St. Joe's.
Just like St. Joe's, that we.
Put that one back in.
But, well, we do send a nurse down there, and
Yeah.
we do,
That was mine.
do the PPTs and
Speech.
send speech
And reading.
Yeah, I would build
But
this.
do we do, I mean, a lot of kids from St. Joe's are not Thompson kids, so how does that work?
Well, we only
Yeah,
service the
so-
Thompson kids, like, oh, no.
Oh, no,
No, not that, okay.
So the kids that are
No,
at
not
St.
for-
You're not
Joe's,
Not for
I can't
nurse.
talk to you.
we
Not for
have,
nurse.
if a referral comes in, we have to use our staff to do the testing, which is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Once the kid qualifies, then the town in which the student resides pays for their service time, unless it's a reading issue. If it's reading, Title I regulations are different than IDEA, and Title I, we have to service those kids down there.
Does St. Joe's reimburse us for any of that?
No.
So why do we test other kids?
Hey,
So they don't pay taxes?
not like the
Because
church
the
has money.
school is in Thompson, so IDEA federal law says that
we're going to
where,
church and state
that
right now, but this is
the town in
ridiculous.
which the school resides, we have to do the testing. So we do do a lot of testing with St. Joe's, and we have been this year in particular. And so if the student qualifies and needs, say, speech and language pathologist, then that town is responsible. Very often, our speech person does the service and Killingly or wherever the kids come from reimburse us.
Is that in the town bylaws?
That is federal law.
I know, but where did it say anywhere in the Turtle Lot, why and when Mrs. Turtelot
Doesn't
created the
matter.
school?
Doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter.
Board of Education has to follow state and federal laws.
They don't pay taxes,
Yep.
but yet there's out-of-state students there on our dime as taxpayers.
That's why it's a
Not-
federal.
No, what you.
Sure there is,
If-
because we're paying for the staff
If they're
to go
getting
down.
services from us, then yes.
It doesn't
but-
matter. Nurse,
Well, that's service.
Well, the town gets a little bit, a $7,500 reimbursement for our nurse, which kind of goes back to the same argument with excess cost. We don't take that money, the town keeps it.
I mean, it's probably minuscule.
Seventy-five-
That's a
7,500
different
whoa,
argument
what?
for another year.
Oh, now all of a sudden you want to know?
No, I agree with you about what you're saying. That's a whole different argument, though. This is the argument that you have, though, Tom, is just like I say to people who want to complain about, binding arbitration. Go fight the state. Don't fight us. Fight the state. You go fight the federal government. I'll fight it with you, but I agree with you. That's a federal problem. They're forcing us to do this. What I want to know is why aren't we getting that $7,500 and where did it come from?
There's more than that, there's a magnet school transportation that they keep
That's
too.
another,
There's-
how much is the magnet
It's
school?
like $3,000.
Like 3,500.
Yep.
There's
It's
more,
those- it's
there's a
those two.
bunch of, there's not a bunch.
What's the
there's a few.
7,500 from?
So why don't we make these things known?
It's nursing reimbursement, so our nurse goes down.
We want full transparency,
and
we
takes
should make
care
this
of
known.
the students.
So that's 11 grand.
I
See?
know.
I did it real quick in my head. Okay.
I know, that's what I'm
We were,
saying.
we were picking our battles 2 years ago. That wasn't one that we chose to fight.
So can we pick it this year?
We can if we want.
Yes.
So I'm gonna suggest on this slide that you include any of the other fees for other schools that we provide, whether it's the nurse for St. Joe's, paras, the testing that we do for St. Joe's. I think the community needs to know that we do cover that, we have to pay for that. I'd also like to see something that shows like what is the minimum requirement for one of our students to attend VOAG. My personal opinion is if they only have to take one class, they shouldn't be going to VOAG. They should have a minimum requirement of a certain balance, that if they're going to VOAG, they should have a VOAG heavy education.
Problem
My
is,
personal
that's
opinion.
all state law.
But I'm,
But I would change
I
that
check it.
to a big thing that
Right,
says,
I
did you
know.
know?
Did I get
Yeah.
it this year?
but you should really break out what we're spending for other schools,
I agree.
yeah, including the
Add
St. Joe's
transportation and
dollars,
St.
because I
Joe's.
don't think that that's information that the public
Right.
has.
I would
Expenses
change
to
this and I
other
would put,
schools.
did you know, question mark. Add St. Joe's, add the transportation, because these are all things that I bet you a huge percentage of the taxpayers do not know that we pay for those other services.
I found out 5 minutes ago we're getting gypped out of 10 grand, so.
That should be included
Well,
as well, but
there
we're not
are-
getting reimbursed
that,
from the
when
town.
We did raise the issue when we raised the special education reimbursement, was that they've already funded us because they gave us the budget for the nurse who's included in our budget, and they gave us the money for the transportation, which is already included in our budget. They've already funded us that money. It's not like we overspent.
But just like
But-
everything else, the state calls it excess cost. So
Mm.
in fact, it could come back to us. it's not the end of the world, and we decided not to
So
pursue it.
it's not, whereas the special education is, we overspent, it is excess.
Right.
So they didn't fund us the money, we had to spend in excess to get that money returned. That's their argument. Why they keep those, that $10,000, $11,000. Because they've already fronted the money for the nurse. Yes, ma'am.
Just because I want to understand, so if there's a Thompson kid that goes to St. Joe and has special education needs, do we provide that at all?
So,
And if, I just have, and if, I want to know, how do you talk to David Sizemore regularly about a lot of stuff?
oh, yeah.
You do? So if you
Chris
have,
more than I do, obviously, his department's busy over there.
so how does that work?
So I can tell you how it works. If David puts in a referral for a student, it comes up to us, we hold an initial PPT meeting to determine whether or not a student needs testing.
Here?
Here. Our people do the testing, then they come back to another meeting and review all of that test data. And if it's determined that a child has a diagnosed disability, then we say to the people to the parents mostly, your child has a significant deficit in reading. We believe as a team that having Title I services down at St. Joe's 2 days a week might not meet your child's needs. Therefore, if you want intensive reading services, you need to enroll your child at Thompson Public Schools. And that has happened. It's also happened where parents have refused services at Thompson Public Schools and kept their child down at St. Joe's. Those students are on something called a service plan. They're getting Title I services from the reading teacher. If they need speech, the speech teacher will also provide that service.
Mhm.
Anything above and beyond the general Title I and the speech service, we are not obligated to provide. So therefore, either the school, St. Joe's, figures out how to support that child more intensely, or the parents do it on their own. We've had situations where students have come up to, students who had very significant disabilities who have tried Thompson, Mary Fisher. It didn't work out, went back down to St. Joe's. We're still just giving them the minimal Title I services and speech services, although we clearly recognize that that student needs more wraparound services. The district is not obligated to give those services. Chris has done a nice job where if a student needed a Chromebook or if a student needed some additional equipment or supports, we feel ethically that we'll try to help them out if we have the extra equipment here. Because it's a relationship, right, with that school and ours. But technically, if a child needs more comprehensive services, they need to enroll here.
So, if there's a child down there that is receiving services, and it's under the $82,000 threshold, whose expense is it, ours or theirs?
So they're not considered not a district student, so that it's going to be under the 82,000, because if they needed comprehensive services, they'd have to be enrolled here to receive them.
Okay, so if there was all right, hypothetical.
Okay.
If there was a student there that exceeds the $82,000 threshold, they're enrolled by St. Joe's, who gets the reimbursement, us or them?
We don't have anybody at that
Yeah, I
point.
don't think
We
that
No,
can't
no,
get to that
I
point.
hypothetical.
There's no
There's
hypothetical
no
for
hypothetical
that.
that would cost that much.
So the problem is
You
that,
can
and
have a
that,
St. Joe's student that needs to be bused somewhere.
Well, yeah, but they're
But
not
then
a
that's
St.
on-
Joe's student.
But then it's not services that we're
they have to
providing.
come here, they would have to come here, they would have to enroll, and say we had to put a student out of district, say for some reason, there was a student we had to put out of district down at St. Joe's, they have to be a Thompson resident, first of all. And St. Joe's, with all the supports that we put down at St. Joe's, it's not meeting that child's needs. The parent would have to enroll the child in Thompson Public Schools. They would hold a PPT meeting right away, and then they would say, okay, whether or not Thompson can meet their goals, or if not, then they would have a conversation about alternate placement. But if the child isn't enrolled here, we are legally not bound to provide those services. And there are cases where the students need more services than we give down at St. Joe's, but yet they're not an enrolled student at Thompson Public Schools, so that's where the line is drawn.
If a student is enrolled at Killingley,
Correct?
the reimbursement comes back to who?
No. So,
Okay, so I'm not misunderstanding, so sorry.
if there was a Killingly student down at St. Joe's and David Sizemore put in.
No,
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 I
no,
meant
a
the
Thompson
Let me-
student,
let me-
Yeah.
Thompson student at Killing.
Let me just ask it this way, because they're asking the same things.
Killingly, yes, we would.
Thompson resident that's outplaced is paid for by Thompson Public Schools.
Correct.
This isn't-
Regardless, no
Reimbursement
no
goes
student
where?
is going to
Here.
receive $82,000 worth of services at Killingly Public School.
Yeah, but that's not what she's asking. What?
Well, you just
what
asked if it's
Donna
a
asked
Killingly
is-
student.
No,
Let's not ask it.
no, she changed it. She
Oh.
said a Thompson student that goes to Killing.
Sure,
That then qualifies for whatever.
sure.
Where's the reimbursement
That's
go?
what I was.
But you have to go over 82,000 for there to be that reimbursement.
Okay, well,
there's
that
no
was
way
her.
to-
I
And
was
they're
just
not gonna
asking a
reach-
question. I was just asking.
No,
a
no, I know
question.
you're not, but I know that's what you're
Because that will
asking.
be brought up, because if we're
But-
asking about one school.
Yeah, let's get back to the budget, guys.
Even if it's $82,000.
Come on.
We'll
So
fix
on
this.
this one, we'll add transportation costs and then the other.
Yes, the other fees,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, on to the next.
Thank you, Danielle.
All of the supports and stuff, it's gonna go way over.
Okay, plant and operations.
In all the years.
I'm just,
Go back on that.
We put an asterisk at the bottom here, includes possible town projects. You know, one of the pitches I think we need to make during this presentation is that, you know, that there are some capital improvement projects which total $269,351 that quite possibly could be shifted to a town capital account and then let the town decide in the priority order of having these things addressed.
Is it in the town building?
And somewhere, probably on this slide, if there's nowhere else that you've already put it, if it's in our budget, that becomes our MER.
Yeah.
Couldn't we just say possible town projects, because the way it reads includes possible town projects, someone's gonna think that we're including town projects that we're going to do.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's the wrong.
I,
What, right.
I don't know
What
if you
does that
should use,
mean?
yeah, I am, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the wording.
Yeah.
Do you want to take it out?
I think
No,
so. I think so.
I think it,
Just say it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because if I'm sitting back, well, what the hell's a possible town project? Are
Right.
you
And
talking?
more importantly, it's
roads?
a conversation that I think we need to have
Paving?
with the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. But putting it in the budget like that is kind of like we're saying, hey,
Capital budget.
guys.
What about move to town capital budget with a question mark? I mean, we've got to bring it up during the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about if it comes down somewhere, like skip a line between all other expenses and total budget, put it almost as its own little separate line, so it's still added into the total, but when you get to it, you can highlight, look, these are capital expenditures, these, you know, and that's when that conversation starts.
So why don't you just put it,
Rather-
rather than put the asterisk, put that this possibly, discussion to decide if it's a
Yeah, I
town municipal budget or education budget expense.
Something.
Maybe that's a good.
But I wouldn't put it in the middle, though.
No, I put it at the bottom.
Put it at the
Put it
bottom, like
and then-
separated maybe by a
highlight
line.
it or something.
Yeah, move it to the end and
Yeah,
make
it's
it
two
basically
numbers.
clear so
Yeah.
that-
Right, and it's either it goes on the municipal or on the
Right.
education budget.
Right.
Discussion to
Does
occur.
that make sense to you, Steve? I know you're a good words and numbers guy.
You know, it'd be nice if some of those capital improvement ones are definitely for the school itself to do. Maybe there's a line for that, and if there's some that are in question, you know, those are the potential town ones. I'm not sure what's in that number, so I don't know whether that's reasonable way to break that up?
Yeah.
Are they all potential town things, or
I
is it some schools
I
definitely?
would put them all potential
I thought
town.
they
Oh,
were,
okay.
yeah, I thought they were because they weren't like, you know, fixing a boiler. It wasn't
It
little.
wasn't repairs, it was
Yeah, I
major
mean, and it's
something.
in the slide, it's.
But it's also gonna be the first thing we cut when they
Oh,
cut our
absolutely.
budget.
Absolutely.
So if it was all on the town side, at least
It's gonna get done.
we'd have a plan going forward.
And that's part of this discussion, by the way, is we keep bringing it up. I know all the boards have brought it up, you know. This is a jump start to that whole 5-year plan for the whole town discussion, all the facilities in town, everything, instead of, because we've also heard this from residents, you know, residents that come to meetings say, you know, why didn't you put any money away? You see it on social media when they're upset about a roof project, why weren't you putting money away? Okay, we're gonna put money away. You want us to keep it in the bank account or you? That's my opinion.
And another one they talk about is why did you let that track and tennis court go so
Absolutely.
bad for so long? Now it's to the
Right.
point of no repair. I mean, you can't even use it.
Right.
All that money, initial money was spent, nobody ever took care of it, and now look what we've got.
And all you have to
Something
do
where
is say
kids can't use a track. They
5
can't use a tennis
referendums.
court.
3 referendums, 6 referendums, there's your answer. Now, I don't know, kids probably need books more than.
And maybe that's the place you actually add another line for reserves for, or transfer accounts, they think they call it, but reserves or something like that for potential or
Future.
repair in 3 years on the track or whatever other projects there might be there.
But we can't have reserve accounts.
Well, 1%, right?
1%.
No.
Sorry, you're right.
Good, but we can't. So,
But we
Yeah,
have
maybe
to
if
budget
you,
that's worth-
maybe you recommended to the town to do that or something.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Pie chart. If you don't think it's necessary, we should take it out. We don't have it on the board, but if you could look at page 40, do you want to keep that pie chart in around the plant and operation budget? If so, we somehow missed it. It's in your packet on page 40.
I don't know that it's necessary for the,
I don't know,
I think it's gonna be a fight, because then people are gonna say, what's fixed costs, and then you're gonna say,
no.
it's just
But
gonna-
these
Get rid of it.
upcoming slides, big time.
Yeah, these we need.
So I have a question.
Yes.
We haven't touched these locker rooms since it was built in 1989, is that accurate?
Okay.
89 was the first school graduation, so
Bill said that.
that's what he said. Why in the hell did we paint them blue?
Boys, that's the boys.
Black, red, and white.
No.
But maybe that could be something that's put on the slide, is that the last,
Blue was very popular 30 years ago.
For what?
the last,
Yeah, for
you know,
Putnam.
renovation made was the state, you know, or the last time that this was worked on was the state.
Perhaps there was a deal at
You don't
Lowe's
like
that-
that? Mint green
So
with
can I
yellow?
just put that as a little asterisk?
No blue.
We're gonna paint them red and black.
I don't know what color we're gonna paint.
We're gonna paint them red and black.
Not everything needs to be red.
Red makes you angry.
Yes.
That might be good.
The sports locker rooms for a school whose uniforms are red and black?
Might as well just paint our tiger, like, you know,
That's
Pink
right.
and blue?
right there, mint green, yellow, and blue. And let's give them,
Let's face it.
And by the
Gray
way,
toenails.
I want the athletes angry when they come out to play. So all red, forget about the black.
Okay.
and I want the rap music
You
gone.
can have that back.
All right.
I'm not good at
Come out to Eye of the Tiger, mandated by the Board of Ed.
The courtyard, I don't know why it's not behaving.
We did during basketball back then, yeah.
All right, skip the courtyard, that's
Everybody
ugly.
knows.
Well, I want to ask about the courtyard.
Now we're
Did
gonna
they
talk
get ever
about
finish it?
masonry repairs,
So-
talk about the leaky ceiling.
So this masonry repair should not be, and I can tell you, should not be diverted out of there, so that goes to Steve's point. This has to happen, this is where that seventh grade wing, an 8th grade wing is like leaking
I
terribly.
think maybe we should add that, like what they're looking at, cause like, for me, if I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, we need new bricks, and I don't know nothing, and then there's like this rusty little beam, and I wouldn't know what I'm looking at.
Well, we're gonna talk to it.
Right.
Right, but if somebody's at home reading
Oh,
this,
yeah, when
they're
somebody
not gonna be
doesn't
able
come
to.
the thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
No, I
Full
know.
Description of the problem.
They may have gotten those
Can you
used.
put like
Maybe they put them in from somewhere else.
Yeah, a little
Yeah, so-
description of the problem down
Yeah.
below.
And
Like we
then-
have over here, replace flooring in the corridor, you know, that's self-explanatory.
And then the shop renovation, so the good news is,
The Alliance approved that?
the good news is Alliance approved it. However, since we've gotten this number of 67,000, we had a vent expert come in and assess our vent system. And the vent system needs work. So until, we're gonna get a price on what we need to fix the vent system.
Heating or exhaust?
It's the vent, it's the combustible dust that needs to be sucked out.
Yeah, so the exhaust vent system, not a heating duct.
So we have somebody in town that does this.
Thompson came in.
I know,
Wyndham County?
No,
No.
Joe Such.
That's who
yeah,
came in.
Oh, he did?
he came here.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm
Little
just-
did I know, Mr. Such and I go way back because he did everything in North Providence. He did a
Well, there you go.
really nice job. Yeah, because we couldn't find anyone in Rhode Island.
So the amount will be adjusted to whatever that.
Yeah, whatever his
that
quote
project
comes
is.
in at to be.
Yeah.
It
Well, I know
works,
that.
but there's just pieces of it that he feels needs an upgrade.
Yeah.
If we're gonna fix that whole space, and actually the combustible dust, we had that room cleaned this year by Service Pro because the dust wasn't being adequately cleaned by our custodians, nor could they. It was up on the lights, up on the wall, and you know, that's potential for a fire.
Right.
And so, and I still didn't like how they did it, because in between the cracks of the cinder block, I still ran my finger there and I found dust. I made them come back and redo it, because it needs to be cleaned. But now we're at that point in the year again, it's getting dusty in there, and that needs to be really taken care of.
Yeah.
So Tom had mentioned that Mr. Such was in town, and so we were able to have him come when school was closed last week and really take a look at it.
So these are two of the projects that we're thinking of moving over to the town, correct?
Not this one,
No.
not the high school shop. The flooring, definitely. The courtyard, possibly.
Did Megan ever do any work in that courtyard?
Why wouldn't?
It's a
Melinda?
town building. We should move as
Oh.
much as we can to the town.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Yeah, but
think
if that's
that
grant
we're not
funded,
talking the renovation
what's
anymore,
grant
but we
funded?
are
I thought it
talking
was
fixing the
5%.
mess.
Is the high school shop work grant funded?
Yeah.
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 Approved?
That amount has been grant funded.
Right.
However,
By-
I want to keep by Alliance.
But shouldn't that Alliance money go to what we need it for?
That's
It
what
is
we
what
need
we
for.
need it for.
what we
It's
need
for,
it.
it's to prevent graduation dropout rate.
Yeah.
We can get them to come back here.
Cause it helps with the career pathways.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Not everybody has to go to college.
We can send the money
No,
to St.
no,
Joe's after
I'm
we
not-
save
I'm
it.
I can understand what he's
I'm
saying.
We
not
got
arguing
permission
that
to
point.
do it.
Oh,
We were fearful.
right, but this is gonna be a one-time cost. And I'd rather see it on the capital side and get it done and take that Alliance money and put it towards the professional development, the curriculum, and the other stuff that we need.
We've
That's
already
my
got-
Does
opinion.
the Alliance money
My
have to be
opinion.
spent
By
by the end
June
of June?
30th.
It's gonna be spent this year.
Oh.
Yeah, what happens if,
We don't pass
Oh, I
the
don't know,
budget.
for example, hypothetically,
my
not that it would
point.
ever happen,
Yeah.
but we had
This
5
has to happen.
referendums and we
Yeah.
didn't get a budget
It's
until
the only
last
way.
I'm
December.
I'm offering my opinion, that's all.
Yeah.
This is a one-time thing that you're not gonna spend it on. It should go onto the capital.
Yes.
Absolutely should.
Should.
I
But-
get.
but are we
I-
willing-
Maybe we can increase the venting into the capital.
That's
would be.
what, that
Yeah.
was
It
my
It doesn't
suggestion.
matter, it doesn't matter if this vent system is done on June 30th or it's done on August 30th. It doesn't matter. It will get done.
That's my question. I
Right,
don't know.
so change
But
this.
but remember, this high school shop renovation, that amount has nothing to do with the vent system.
Right, but what, we can't put this in if it's gonna go under the Alliance, so change it to high school shop vent system and put a number.
I'm just questioning why it's under Alliance, that's all.
Yeah.
If you're saying, you're the expert, if you're saying it should be, then I'm not gonna argue with it.
But we can't
But
put it in our
I'm saying,
budget.
if it was me running my plan, it wouldn't be, it would be a capital
Well,
thing.
we
The
don't
reason
even
we-
know if the town's gonna take it over in their budget. That might get done.
The reason we
Right
put
up
it
the
there
window,
is
my
because we
concern.
know, in Alliance, is because it must happen. And we had the money, and we got it approved by the state, so it will happen. I can't, this is too risky a situation you're gonna get at the next board meeting. Mike's program has been accepted as a state partner. He's really starting to advance that manufacturing area. I don't wanna hold back by saying, and it was in the NEASC report.
Right.
So I don't wanna hold back this one particular thing, but the vent system came as an add-on when I didn't realize we should be, I should have known better, right? But didn't realize, maybe we should really take a look at that vent system when we're doing everything else, so
But the vent system is working, it's just not,
it's not adequate.
it's not adequate. So it's not like it has to be done next week.
Right.
Right, but
It would wait.
the vent part can go into capital.
That's
Yes.
what I'm
So we
saying.
may need to change this slide.
Yes, change that slide to vent system.
We're
and
talking
plug
about the
a number
vent. No, I wasn't, I was talking about the vents.
You're both venting on the same topic.
I was
They're
talking about
venting
the
on the
vents.
in. You can
Stop
still
venting
show
the
these
same topic.
pictures, the ductwork. and
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
the
I was talking
ductwork,
about the
yeah.
vents, I wasn't talking about the. I understood the vents.
And then we go on to
I was wrong.
Discretionary costs.
Hang on a second.
discretionary costs that are in the budget. I mean, these are things that we need.
Has this been put into what we need?
In priority ranking,
That's
we put
the-
priority.
Yeah.
And our somebody mentioned that at the budget
I think
workshop
we did
too, and I
too.
didn't know if it would have been done.
What's the difference
I'm not
between
sure.
replacement equipment and new equipment? Isn't that?
Because you can replace it with used.
So,
What?
no.
Well, one's custodial and one's plant and maintenance, is that? Oh, maintenance new, oh, okay.
Yeah,
In his presentation, the custodial new equipment I thought was a new floor washer.
it was.
Could it be,
It's been in the budget every year since I've been here. and
right,
it's
could
been
it
up.
simply be, we're replacing a piece of equipment that's worn?
there a way
That's
to
this.
put
Here, we're buying a new piece of equipment. We don't
How
have.
many of these items
Maybe,
have been in the
maybe.
budgets previously and have been cut because of the multiple referendums?
I can highlight them.
Yeah.
Because it just goes to show
That would
that
be
it,
my
that
guess.
could affect accreditation later on too.
Okay?
Melinda, completely off topic. Can you just ask Bill, why is that tree still laying down?
Which one?
The one at the
Because it
entrance?
fell.
They took all the limbs off of the thing, and now it's just uprooted, and as soon as you pull up the entrance to the school, or out, yeah, right there. It came down in a storm, I don't know, let me just say 6 months ago, 4 months ago, I don't know. He limbed it, and then they stopped.
I don't know why it's still there.
Could you just check on that?
I get rid of all of that. Yeah,
Please.
I will.
I have a quick question.
It's
or
been bugging
statement,
me, and
rather.
when I saw new equipment, I'm thinking maybe they've been waiting for a new piece of equipment to do something to that tree. I don't know.
So on where it
It's bugging
says
me.
other discretionary costs, as somebody reading the budget, maybe not knowing what these costs may be or what, is there a way we can word other discretionary costs for somebody to
Other plant operation costs?
cost or, you know,
Other-
or, I mean, I would write wish list, but I
Other
mean, that's not
equipment
really,
costs,
you know,
basically, aren't they?
budgetary or.
According to the thesaurus, because I did the same thing,
Yes,
leftover, non-mandatory,
non-mandatory.
non-obligatory,
No,
open,
no, it's-
optional,
We need a lot of that, so it's not non-mandatory.
elective,
They're not just
Unrestricted.
A lot of the stuff we need to do.
Would you say, so maybe like,
Other costs.
It could be
Other
just
costs.
other
How
costs.
about just
Yeah.
other?
But the thing is, it's pretty common to just, this is fixed and this is discretionary. That's just the word you use.
I know, but if you
We
see
use it-
discretionary, then you know what they're gonna say?
Yeah,
Cut it.
discretion is
Cut it,
cut.
yeah.
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 It's
yeah,
no
so
problem.
just other costs.
Yeah, just other costs.
Yeah.
Anytime you see discretionary,
Not needed.
that's right. So I'd get rid of it.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on the transportation.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of like debarking that tree out there, Sean.
No, I don't want it debarked, man, I want the thing green. Have you seen this? You know,
Is that second bullet, Bob, is for an increase in summer, and then we were charged the old rate during the summer of 2019?
No. And if we're gonna be consistent, take out the 2020 projected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, yeah.
Right. Now, as somebody reading this and maybe not understanding, so somebody's gonna read this and say, a bus costs $377.99 to run, and a van costs the town $328.07. Maybe we can explain why the cost of the van is almost the cost of the bus, because it's handicap, accessible, whatever it may be, just so that, because
Most of
somebody's
them are
gonna,
not handicapped. They're-
or whatever it might be.
That's just
That's
their
their rate?
flat rate.
Which is crazy. But, I mean, I just, maybe we could just write, that goes flat rate of, you know,
Well,
or
it's
something like that.
It's a contractual rate.
Yeah,
It's a
contractual rate.
contract. I mean, I don't know if we necessarily need to put that there. I don't know.
Yeah, because I know somebody's gonna say, if I wasn't on the board and understood what was going on, I would say that's crazy, that it costs $50 less to run a van than a bus.
Well,
Yeah.
then there's a differential for fuel.
Right,
so,
right,
uh,
right.
We're not talking about the fuel for that
Right.
particular van.
So maybe just getting rid of it. Because there's nothing on the category.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need to know that, you're right, just, yeah, okay. That's that. I don't know that we even need to show this whole thing, we could just put this in the appendix.
You want to put this in the appendix?
Yeah, I mean, we've shown the transportation going up 2.47, and
Right.
if they want to drill down into the details, they can look at it. And sports, I don't know how important that is.
Oh, I think it's important.
Yes, very important.
Yeah, all right.
I'd like to ask a question on this one if I could. I know we want to eliminate the, I'm sorry, the left one right before this. The one that's just, yeah.
Again, in technology, take out.
Well, it does a 20 projected is $500,000 more
Back
than
in
than the budget.
right?
You're actually going to, compared to what we're actually spending this year, next year, it's going to go down?
Yes.
400,000?
Yes. That's because of the work that special ed does.
Well, I understand he's doing, that's just a huge cut. I
Yeah.
believe, in this case, a 2020 estimate.
If you take off 5
Make
years.
sure you point that out when you Board of Finance,
Yeah.
you're reading it.
Yeah, but you know what though?
Assuming the 2020 projected, I know we've had a little, I have a little different viewpoint of what the projection should be what you actually expect to spend. And I know, I think you've used some rules to what you do or don't include in that. But if this is actually what you expect to spend, and ditto on the other slides actually, if you get to what you really expect to spend for the current year, that's helpful information in terms of deciding what you need for the coming year.
Yeah, but not to complicate the issue, we're overspending on special ed by how much right now?
500 and something.
It was 7 something.
Yeah, I thought it was 7 something.
Plus the,
Someone's budget, guys.
All right,
That was
so,
the number that we presented with Board of Finance in December.
okay,
This budget, this Board of Finance meeting, the number was 489,000, wasn't it?
I'll tell you in a sec.
So I have a million anyway.
all right, so let's just say it's 500,000. If you're thinking what Steve just said, which is a 400,000 cost difference, technically we're only over by 100,000 on special ed?
Not this year.
That's for next year.
Yeah, I know, but we're saying right now that we're budgeting, I thought we were budgeting an increase on special ed of 700,000 or something, weren't we? The numbers, I'm just saying, the numbers don't jive. That's
No,
all.
remember, Tom, that we brought that up, was even though we're overspending, at one point in one of our meetings, we were overspending by 700,000 or whatever it was. Yet we weren't budgeting that much for next year because of what they plan on being able to do. So
Right, the
that was my
16 versus
oddity,
26.
was I think we're keeping it the same as, we're budgeting the same as 1920 for 2021, even though we're overspending by 700, but we expect to be able to bring that back down by doing some things next year.
Right, but to Steve's point, if a Board of Finance member sees this right now, they're gonna say, why are you overspending on special ed when you're actually saving 400,000?
Because that's next year's projection. We are not realizing those savings this year.
Right.
Right, and anything can
You're
change.
okay with that?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're trying to explain, and I just want to make sure you're really cutting, that's a huge number. A lot of it's in transportation, obviously, I thought it would
Yeah.
be more on the
And,
teacher side.
and obviously, it's gonna be real important.
400,000.
We're not saving, it's just a cost offset,
Yeah.
Cost avoidance.
cost avoidance.
I think it's gonna be important to have Chris at these,
That meeting,
at least
yeah.
one or two of these budget presentations slash,
Well, he'll be there on March 5th, and then whatever dates.
we're gonna,
All
right.
the principals will be at whatever dates the Board of Finance are gonna
Because
assess our
I just,
budget.
I think it's very important for him, as it was for previous pupil services directors, to explain, to really dive into, look, this is what it could cost, this is what we're doing. I mean, we are working hard to do this as cost effectively as possible, given the restrictions by the state and federal government. You know, we're really doing it for, you know.
Well, that's why that slide on special education is very
Yeah.
important, to show that by bringing back students into
Yeah.
the Bradley program, even though they're considered part of those 26 out-of-district placements,
Yeah,
we're not spending money on transportation,
right,
any
right.
excess transportation. They're actually here on the premises.
And the other thing I just want to stress is that not all the students that are in an out-of-district placement are suitable for an emotionally disturbed.
No, absolutely.
program.
Absolutely, we recognize that, but we were able to
We're,
bring back
that's why I
some
say, I mean, we're working hard to do
All right.
as efficient as possible while properly servicing the children.
Right.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, that's our responsibility, and whether or not we like the way the state or federal government is funding it doesn't change what our responsibility is. And that's what's so hard to explain to the general public is, look, at the end of the day, you know, you own a house in a town in the United States of America, it's your duty to pay taxes to help the kids that need the help, period. If not, don't own a house. You know, go to another country if you don't like it. But that's the rules here. And
Really?
As a sidebar, many of those students are doing really well.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay,
upside.
let's
say it
move
like
on.
that.
Let's move on to
Just
sports.
saying.
For nicer turn, let's move on to sports
you know.
now.
it's not rocket science.
Happier subject.
Yeah. So looking at the sports slide, the only thing that I think should be explained a little bit, what are the other costs? Is it uniforms, is it this, is it that? Because somebody's gonna look at that and be like, what are we spending $89,000?
Well, I'm sure some of that has to be physicals.
Page 48.
Right.
It would probably be
Well, didn't it double?
supplies,
The
right?
increase is the $5,000 for football.
Right.
What's
But
the other
what is the
85,000?
89, what are the other costs? If we can explain those.
What are the items
Yeah,
listed?
items, yeah.
What
A for
are-
It's
example.
memberships,
Well, we need to list that out. Other costs are,
Yeah, because,
Just start
That's-
and put a list.
yeah, that's a big chunk of change that people
I'd
question.
like to take out the other stuff though.
Yeah.
Increase due to contractual and
Yeah,
that other
there's
stuff.
no
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. And just list some other costs.
Yeah.
At least the major of it, supplies and athletic dues and fees, and what is a pro technician, what's that?
it's PT.
That's
You have to
the
have a physical therapist at every
medical.
match.
Oh, okay, all right.
What do you call it?
Now, this,
Trainer.
Sports
Sports trainer.
this is the slide where you can combined benefits and, professional tech services, and that's why we look at the 3,000 and see the projected spending through January was 140,000.
I don't know which line, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The second one.
Benefits line.
Is this where we combine the benefits and the professional tech services?
We'll get back on technology.
Because,
Professional tech services for technology
because
is,
we've got $3,000 for the 2020. Then we've got the spending as of January, 140,000, and for the 2021 budget, 3,000. I mean, that just looks
Horrible.
the,
Yeah.
We're gonna take that projected spending column out.
yeah,
Yeah.
And are we gonna take it out of, when we hand these budget sheets out as well, do you want that projected spending column out?
Yes.
Okay.
Leave it in
I
for
think
our
we combine
purposes.
things and it just,
That's more,
it's horrible.
that's more for us.
Yeah.
Than it
Yeah.
is for the public.
Yeah,
It's hard
don't-
to understand that, it's just gonna confuse people.
Right, don't reprint our copies or redo our copies, just to the other. Okay, now
And then we're just at curriculum, which is, he's showing a bit of a decrease.
Did you ask? What was the answer? I think there's something to do with moving
pretty
something.
straightforward. Yeah, Donna makes.
Yeah,
Maybe the
same.
curriculum should be more sports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I think in technology, I mean, I'm for sports, I just want to make that known. But sports should be at the end of
the
primary
academic year.
education.
Sports,
Right,
academic,
right.
okay, good point, good point. Sports,
Because,
sports
you know.
is the dessert.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the curriculum is a huge,
Yep.
huge thing.
Okay.
And then just the appendices is that Bob put in department codes in case people have
Okay.
any questions.
Yep.
He put in the object codes.
Yep.
And then he put in some Thompson Public School general facts, you know, current expenditures, the average daily
Well, I
membership.
think this is what Kathleen said, instead of saying where you got it.
Yeah,
Right.
site to site as references.
Yeah.
And household and children, all of that stuff.
No, these are very, very good to have. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed reading these.
And it shows you your demographic too.
Right.
Oh, she's
And
on that
then
one now.
expenditure
No,
comparison.
public versus regular, you just
Yeah,
want me for.
private.
Public versus private enrollment.
That was interesting.
See, that's.
I think when you get to net current expenditure comparison, what I would do, and we're gonna get into this, I would put an asterisk and put no high school,
Oh, right.
differentiate the towns that only have 1 through 8.
So.
So we don't get
What?
into that argument.
Chronically absent is the same.
Where?
See, when we go back to this one.
Yes.
We've got people that are not understanding this slide.
Because
Okay.
in that particular subject,
What is the
Thompson
problem?
is
Because when you
absolutely
look at it,
average.
you know it as a Board of Ed member. But if I was like, right, I'm just like saying, can you just like, maybe it needs like an explanation, just a brief sentence at the bottom. Public meaning what, the private meaning what?
Yeah, I
Public
was,
school versus private school.
I'm a little surprised
So,
at that.
you understand that, I
No,
understand
see, here's
that.
the problem.
But looking
Val.
at that, I'm like,
This is the grade.
what?
No, just add the word school.
Is that based
Yeah.
on property owner
Okay.
or resident?
Very
I say
good
that all the
point.
time. Because how many
They
Back
run
on
residents-
their
the
own,
expenditure, oh, you're on the expenditure
That's- 'cause
program,
that's
or
deceiving.
comparison?
Time out.
That's very
That's good, but then we gotta go back on a couple slides.
Yeah, I wanna go back.
Go ahead,
Page
go ahead.
57.
All right, now what?
57.
57?
Yeah,
Okay.
chronically absent, we're exactly the same
It just so
as
happens
the
we're average.
state
We
average.
have the same question.
What?
Does it just so happen that we are exactly state average, or is there a mistake by chance?
10.7.
Actually, we're the state average, right on the.
We're right on it? Okay,
Yeah.
just curious. That was one.
And how can our
Kudos to us
SNAP
for
be so
chronically
high, but
absent,
yet
we're
our
on the
poverty
state
is so
average.
low?
I find that hard to guess. However, we're dinged for that in Alliance.
Oh, yeah. So then the next question, I think that at least over on this end is, really? We're that far below state average in poverty?
Yeah, that one I
And
would
then we get
question.
SNAP,
That
we're
should
at
be-
SNAP,
yeah, no,
we get
that-
SNAP
let's
recipients
look
at
that
9%,
number.
and we are
Yeah.
only
That's
1% poverty.
State right there, that one. I
No, it
looked
makes
at that.
sense.
We can't be that low.
Like
That's the
absolutely.
number.
I think I'd look at that.
Where'd it come from?
It came from, the site is,
Can't be 1.06.
it's a state site.
Look at that.
Do you have any idea if it's residents or property owners?
I hesitated even including that number because it seemed like it was off kilter.
Right.
Although it says under 18. So we don't have that many kids in poverty? I'd look at that.
doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah, but the next line down, poverty status is 4.38.
Well, that number doesn't look right.
But, I mean, why, to Val's
I,
point
we
though,
just
is
take out that,
SNAP.
if we're, have SNAP recipients, you know, people can use a free and reduced lunch, but can we just get rid of the poverty status under 18?
The free and
then-
reduced
Well-
lunch number is wrong anyway, Bob.
Well,
That's the number that was on EdShare.
Yeah, he's taking it from a different source. than
so
that, you
the
know,
SNAP
than actual-
recipient thing, my
That's
guess
why
would
we have
be,
to state our
there isn't
sources.
9.66%, it's
So then I can go on.
9.6% of the well, 768. 768 of our students receive it? So wait a minute, 768 of our
That's
students
70%,
get SNAP
75%
recipients.
of our students.
It's
receive
85,
it.
86%.
Yeah, that's a
That's
whole.
75%.
That can't be right.
768 people in the town.
Well, then these
of
aren't
Thompson.
student
Oh, in the
facts.
town.
Oh, okay.
Town facts.
So it shouldn't say TPS student
Right.
facts.
Yeah, so it should be town facts.
Yeah.
Okay, so 768
People in
people,
town.
town residents,
Yeah,
Receive SNAP.
right.
and then did they?
That I believe, that
All
I
right,
believe.
so
That's
town
a low
facts.
number. That's a low number.
What's our
state
population?
sources we can check.
9,200? 9,000?
And
Well, hey, 768 is 9.66%.
Yeah, it's just divided out.
This is off the Connecticut Data Collaborative, which has got more
collaborative.
fun facts that you could possibly, ctdata.org. It's got more stuff that, like,
Okay, and what year does this pertain to?
2018, 2019, it depends on the, most of it's 2019 fiscal year.
Okay.
What's the site called?
It is ctdata.org, and it is a blast.
Okay.
I'm just-
Okay.
I can't, when I went through some of the stuff, and I thought, oh, that's kind of whacked, I don't want to put that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not the one that really should be making the decision as to whether a stat here is not.
We're not that far behind in.
It's also just odd to me to see the poverty status 1.06,
I
total
looked at
status
that.
4.3, disengaged youth
What's a
7.4.
disengaged youth?
What's a U?
What's a U? Did you say U?
Youth?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a.
Should remember Mike
They
Tyson.
drive
saw the
around in
movie.
Australia,
I saw it.
utility vehicle. Okay, where are we anyway?
What's a U?
If we could go back to 59 real quick, I would just do from smallest school system to largest school system, because the numbers are kind of all over the place. And I know it's going in alphabetical order, but instead of doing it in alphabetical order, just change the numbers in like order of school size. So obviously, you know, Killingly and Plainfield would go, you know, to the end because they have 2,000 students, but I would make that adjustment of going smallest to largest.
You mean
And
by membership?
Right, by students, so like Pomfret has 576, so you can see as you have, your students increase, your budget increases. So instead of having all these prices all over or these budgets all over the place.
Okay.
And then I would also make write which schools don't have high schools.
Yes.
Yes.
we
So
already got that.
the ascending high school,
We already got that.
yeah, perfect.
You have to remember too, though, that
You're paying for those
Woodstock
out of district.
includes
You're paying
WA
for-
tuition in their in their K
You're
through
paying
8
for
Yeah.
Kimberly
budget.
kids, you know what I mean, that's our net.
What did you just say?
Woodstock in their budget number includes their tuition to WA in their
So does it work
K
with
through
some-
8
Yeah,
Right.
they all,
through their budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
well, not
So hang-
necessarily Woodstock, but to Putnam or to Killenly.
Wait a minute. For Woodstock, for example, 18,561 is their, what, 2008, 19 or 20? What,
What year are we
What-
looking at?
Yeah.
so 2019, fiscal year 19 this year, you're saying? They're
I'm sorry.
We're in 20 now.
Yeah, 20, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But it's through 19.
so they're 18,500. Are we including,
You can't include the academies.
that's what I'm asking.
That number
Yes,
includes
their
academy
tuition to the academy is only like $11,000.
No, I understand that.
No, but the town of Woodstock, their budget only represents pre-K through 8.
No,
No,
no.
no.
They pay the
Represents
tuition.
tuition to
The Board of
academy.
Education's budget in Woodstock pays for the academy's tuition. My question is,
Right.
there's only 1,307?
That is only the number, I
That's
believe, in their
that's
enrollment.
their kids going to the academy.
No,
That's,
that's,
Can't-
that's their total enrollment.
Their total enrollment from pre-K to 12 is
Yeah.
only 1,307?
Mhm.
yeah. They have fewer people in their town than Thompson does.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Is this slide
That's right,
to
your
show that
size-wise, but
Thompson's
it's
the
all
second
fun.
most expensive town?
I don't know.
That's what it shows me.
What?
I didn't hear what
It
it said.
says that this is the second most expensive town for education.
Exactly.
We're not gonna sell the budget with that.
Yeah, no, I don't think we should show this slide. We show it every year and we get binged on it. Let's not show it.
I mean, full disclosure, it's nice, but no offense, you're saying you're the second most expensive.
Right.
Is it accurate?
Yeah, it
According
is.
to-
We've
according
had
to
that
this-
discussion before, though, about the whole per pupil expenditure thing and how it's actually calculated, and it's goofy.
It's
Well, you can see,
Yeah, it's- yeah, it is.
the larger the population,
not
the
show
the
this.
lower the
Yeah.
cost goes,
Not-
because you
sure.
spread it out over more.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
that's
So
exactly what it
Pomfret and
is.
Thompson are gonna be the highest.
Right,
According
and
to-
we've had that discussion too, where if you
Pomfret
added,
is the highest. Pomfret's low, not lower.
Killing me.
You
It's not a
guys,
lot lower, but
if
it's
you
lower.
had,
$1,200.
according to Woodstock Academy site, each year, there are around 1,150 students enrolled 9 through 12. You just have to break out though, who was foreign and who was whatever.
well, yeah, but
Right,
they're
and
not,
the
yeah, but
ascending
they're also
towns.
Brooklyn, Canterbury, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Union.
The Woodstock
Yeah.
students.
Very, very curious to see what that
Yeah,
number
they have a
will be.
big contingent of international
I
students
would,
now.
I would
Right.
think there was more.
All right, we're not gonna show this, we're not showing this
Yeah,
slide.
perfect.
Okay, good, so delete.
We spend $180,000 per student,
Oh, yeah.
remember?
Yes, that's right, I forgot
How many
that.
times did you have to explain to him?
What's the
They'll
next-
do the math
okay,
anyway.
So what's the next slide? Thompson facts.
Stay in school.
He's a retired teacher.
Common Core.
Oh my God, where did they just, they're taking Common Core out. They voted it out once, they voted it out.
I don't think,
I
I don't
wish-
think we need to show this slide either,
Yeah.
because if somebody's gonna look at our median household income and go, what, I don't make that kind of money.
Yeah.
Household.
Right,
Yeah, 'cause I
Where's
mean,
that?
how-
yeah, I don't think we need to show that
That's
either.
very
Well,
interesting.
yeah, but
It's interesting, but,
Just showing how poor we are, and that the fact that
yeah,
people
right.
can't afford an increase.
Yeah, no, let's ditch that one too.
Yeah.
Okay, I've gotta go back. to
That's a good
page
question.
59 Because same, we've got a board of finance member here, and I don't want him believing what I'm putting my thoughts on.
Based
How
on
is,
the
when
state
we're
Department of
talking about
Education,
expenditure
they
per
determine
student,
CCS.
Correct.
Your median income different than your
we're not
median
putting in there the
household.
transportation
Household
costs.
family.
Oh, yeah, everything is included in it.
Yeah.
Everything is included, and they make adjustments for special education.
So you're gonna tell
individual
me
higher than
that
than the dual.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
when my habit
Net median income is
buses go to
$34,000.
all these other schools for the high school.
Well, they
that-
take some of that, if you go online and look at the formula, they make adjustments for that, they take some of it out, they add some of this back in, it's a crazy, crazy formula.
Yeah, so that's why it's just good to take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because if you try to explain that formula,
And I'll
that
go to it.
formula to somebody, it's, you can go online and see the formula that figures this out.
What's the definition?
Right, that's why we don't want to show this, because this doesn't represent simply taking the number and dividing it, although it's pretty close this year.
Tape and everything, Cheyenne, now.
Right, so let's just drop that out.
All right, so now 61.
Lower third.
61's kind of interesting, I guess. I don't know if we want to show it, but it's interesting. We might want to put that in the appendix.
Yeah.
It is the appendix.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
the
we are
appendix.
in the appendix, okay, never mind, take that back.
Good spot for it.
That was great.
They can get this off our
Yeah.
monthly
Yeah.
meeting.
Right,
That's
right.
all that is. This gets a little more.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if this is gonna be beneficial or not.
So the problem is that this whole free and reduced lunch percentage, I don't know what year you're looking at and where you got this from, Bob. Where'd you get this slide
State
from?
Department of Education, this is how they determine the ECS.
What
So
year?
this is from Connecticut Finance, this information. And basically, you put the town and you pick 4 or 5 towns and it rolls out the numbers that these are the components of how ECS is determined, which in Thompson, ECS is frozen because we're an alliance district, so it's not gonna go down. But this is just to give you an idea of, and again, I threw all these in here because what happens is, when you go to the dump or you go to Stop and Shop, people start asking you questions about how, well, where do they even come up with this number? And nobody really knows where they come up with ECS, but this was just to give you an idea of, these are the components, and each one's got a different weight to it as to how they determine the per pupil amount that you get for ECS.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I
so
don't even know what an
important.
English
Yeah.
learner account is.
Since we're getting rid of the school.
We have 3.
That's, the definition of an English learner is somebody who's learning English. Like, it's not their, English isn't their primary.
I don't think we need that.
Nah,
I think it's too much.
it's an interesting thing, but I don't even, what's this public investment community index for?
I don't think we need
It's,
that. All right.
All we know is Woodstock's a rich town. All this tells us is Woodstock's got money. Okay, let's drop this.
All right, so, state reimbursement. My question is, what is non-public health? Is that,
It's the nurse
okay, so if we can,
at St. Joe's.
if we can
Here we
put
go.
that,
That's what we get reimbursed for, 54%?
we get reimbursed at that percentage of what we spend at St. Joe's. So if we got $7,500 back, that means we spent $14,000 in services at St. Joe's for the nurse to go down there.
I thought we
So
said
we're not getting
reimbursement
it.
went to the town.
Well,
It does, we don't get
does.
money, but
It
the
does.
town gets that money.
Shouldn't it say that here? Because people are gonna think we're getting it.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, but it doesn't go against our costs.
What happens if in a given year we spend more, or is it pretty steady?
Been pretty steady.
Okay.
Right, but if we have the expense and there's a reimbursement, it should go to offset our expense. It shouldn't go back to.
Except for
Right,
the
and
fact that the Board of
their
Finance
argument-
says that they have already given us the money to cover the expense.
But does it reduce our expense line?
No.
No,
They
because
they
we have
gave us-
budgeted for that.
They gave us the money for a nurse for the Thompson School. They
Right.
did not
Not
give
for
us the
St.
money
Joe's.
for a nurse to go down
But
there.
that's the argument we can make.
We can make that argument, but again, it's,
They gave us the
It's
money for
$7,500
a nurse.
you know,
I don't know.
It's just that
But I
other-
think we should
But
put some verbiage
then,
under
then
there
we
to
should
explain
increase
what that
that,
is.
then we
Yeah.
should increase that line item by $7,500 then.
It's just another example, I think, to give them when they start talking about, you know, the school. It's just another feather in the, hey, look, you know, we give, you guys wanted to,
Right.
you know, keep coming
And
back
that
to.
nurse could be utilized full-time here,
Right.
and
We
yet
certainly-
we're taking 54% or somewhat of her time, that's not it, but whatever time we're taking away from our students
Yeah.
because we have to service St.
I
John's.
think it's another one of those did you knows.
What's the adult
I really
education,
think you
18
could
to
just put a
21?
big did you know at the beginning of this presentation.
It's those kids that go up, it's adult ed beyond 21, it's, the
Hey,
state
don't worry, we're here all week.
Connecticut mandates that you have an adult education program. So we get a state grant for around, I don't know, 49,000, and EastCon manages the program for us, so we pay EastCon probably another, I don't know, 48,000. They take the grant, and we also pay them to manage our adult ed program, which is around $100,000 a year.
So
Why
that
do
state
we have-
reimbursement goes to them?
Yes.
But this looks like this is all state reimbursements going
So
to
that's-
us.
Yeah, we don't get that.
Yeah, I would
And
think that.
everybody's gonna go, oh, they're getting
Yeah.
all this, they're
So
getting all that.
that's what, again, we show the expense, but we don't show the offset.
Right.
And it's
Well,
not
we show
right.
the expense net of the grant for the adult education.
How though?
But she just said you don't
We
get
don't.
the grant.
We don't, because we don't get the grant reimbursement, it goes to the town, so it's.
Right, but we show.
No, not for adult ed, we
All
get
right, so-
that money,
Oh, I
but
thought
But-
it went to EastCon.
we ship it goes to EastCon.
But does it, so if you were to look at the budget, let's just say it's 132,000, you get a reimbursement, I'm just gonna say 100. Do we just show a net 32?
We
Yeah, we
pay
show it.
the balance, yes.
You're talking about adult
That's
ed?
what we show in the
Yeah.
budget.
Basically, it's like $106,000. We pay the $106,000, we get $47,000 back from the state.
Yeah.
That's used as an offset of the 106.
So where does the 59 come from?
That comes from the
I mean,
Board of Ed
where-
budget.
Yeah.
All right, so it shows 59 on
Yeah.
our budget.
Yeah.
Where does the grant money go?
Grant money is used as an offset. I mean, you pay 106 and you get back.
But does it go to the
Do
town?
we get it or does it go to the
Yeah,
town?
we get it.
We
Does
get
it go to
okay.
EastCon?
Is it
Who can
the
go to
same
adult
amount of,
ed? I'm hung up
is
on
it this,
this.
Melinda, is it the same amount of money no matter how many adults are enrolled?
Correct.
So we could have 1 or 15 and it's still gonna cost us that 106?
Let's send the whole,
But
I
to
said we send
run
all
a
of that.
full-fledged accredited adult ed program
They're too busy lighting
would
shit on
be an
fire.
extra burden on the board, on our side.
Oh, I'm not even suggesting we do it, but it just,
The fires that are on.
and
How
I know,
many Thompson residents participate in adult ed? I could get that count from EastCon. Last year, I think we had 1 or 2.
We should
Is
say
it
something for help.
eligible? Who's
That's-
eligible?
that's a huge
Like,
amount
can I
of
go
money
and
for
take
one
the
person,
class?
is my point.
Is it
Off the top of my head,
I
it's like
didn't even know that.
57,000.
Maybe 50
something
to
we
100,000 in person.
In the
Yeah.
community.
If it's one or
They
two.
have a
Well,
host
they get a
of
reimbursement,
programs
so
and
it's
criteria
50
for
to
eligibility.
60,000 bucks for
Is
one
it
person.
advertised in the community?
Can go?
I don't know the answer to that. We've not
That's
obviously hit the
$50,000 a
threshold.
student.
That's crazy.
Melinda,
It's great.
is
That's why I
this
didn't know
advertised in the
18,000.
community?
EastCon does their own advertising for adult ed, but is it advertised in the community?
So what, they can take a number of classes? I mean, how does the whole thing, I'm kind of curious how that whole thing works.
Yeah, so adult ed, they have a variety of like, work internships and, job placement and all sorts of actually interesting programs. Our kids take advantage. This summer, they got paid to work with Tracy in the summertime. So they do have some nice programs.
Did I just miss the part of the conversation where it said why that's required? Is that another
It's a
awesome
state
state
mandate.
mandate that is
Oh.
unfunded, even though the state forces us to do it
Well,
because
they
we're
say
not
that they
represented here in
give
the
us-
northeast corner?
They give us almost 50% reimbursement, so.
Right, so tell you what, we'll give them 50%, they can give us,
Are there any
How
years
about we pay
when
50% of our special
nobody
ed
goes?
costs?
You know?
I bet there is. I can ask them for Thompson attendance.
100 grand.
Does this include things for people that want to get their GED as well?
Yes.
So I think that
you know, with the poverty levels and stuff, maybe that's something that we could work with T and seeing if we can, you know, families.
I mean,
getting
if
them
we're
involved.
using it, right,
If we're, you know,
if we're using it, no,
Right.
no
No,
problem,
if
but if
we're
we're
paying
spending
for it,
$50,000 a
If we're paying for it, let's
student,
get people to
then
use it.
Yeah.
that's another one of those, hey, May and Rick, why don't you guys come visit us for a meeting so we can ask you why we have to pay for this?
But there's something.
I'd rather have them come here and work on, getting the funding for the $32,000 or $38,000 it is for an in-district reimbursement. Instead of them trying to work with the, West Hartford. You just said have
The
May
other
Flex
thing
and
is,
Rick
I
Case
just don't
come here.
think,
Right,
So I
I
said,
mean,
is have them
I don't
come
think there's a
here
lot of people
and
that
help
know
us get
about, like,
reimbursement
especially,
for the-
I know there's
the
a lot
funding
of
that we
people in
don't
this
get
town that
reimbursed.
probably could
Instead of
take
them working
advantage
with
of getting
West
their
Hartford on
GED.
trying to have school
And I don't
hours
know
changed
that
to
that
30
is
start.
something the town people know, and maybe
These kids can't get out
you,
of bed.
we have to figure out a way to get that
Please,
known,
yeah.
that
No, I missed that.
this is available to them. I would like to know a little bit more about how the whole program works
Right.
and what it
I
covers.
went to a couple
I mean,
of
I
board
wouldn't mind
meetings, I can go to
I
those
wouldn't
board
mind spending
meetings, I just,
Yeah, if you're
I haven't
15,
been
20 adults.
connected to that quite.
Well, you
When
had
I
to be-
That's what I'm saying.
I went to
If we're
two at
using
the end of last year.
we weren't using it, why are we
Well,
spending
who's our board, who's our new board appointed person?
I am.
No, no, no.
No, that's a whole separate issue.
Oh, that's a whole nother
That's a
issue?
whole separate thing.
Oh, this is something different.
Do they contact us?
I would like to know what it covers.
So our guidance works with them pretty closely.
Guidance does?
When we have students that need to go that direction.
But what if it's adults out there that want to
Like
go back
parents.
and get their GED? What would they do then, follow the school?
that we have.
I have the packet in my office, I can go and check on that with the age criteria.
I remember, I got somebody at the cafe to go, and we had to go, and she had to go visit and make an application there.
Yes.
And she was from Putnam, and they used to actually have like some teachers come to the Putnam area, and they would go to school within Putnam. But I
They
think you
still
had
have
to go
one in
physically, you had to go physically put in your application in Danielson, because she wanted to finish her GED.
Yeah,
The age requirement and all that.
slide 64.
64. Bob just put that in there.
Yep. Well, this is good to have, and then nobody has.
Do we want to put it in this location?
It's in the appendix.
Yeah.
Same with,
Everybody likes what it
Yeah,
says.
well, then I think this is appendix type. I think we could copy or lease, we could copy or leases. A little clearer. So what do we got over here, contractual?
So when I was reading the email, I had a big, my heart skipped a beat reading this. That, and as anybody looking at this slide, which I'm not even, now, Bob, where's this slide from? The 84.8%
It's from the,
graduation rate?
it's referencing that point that report that I went over a couple of meetings ago.
Okay.
But I actually pulled it down, it's on the SDE website, it's related to next generation numbers.
Right.
And it's updated.
Right, so I think if we keep this slide in, it needs to be explained how this rate is figured out. Because there are, like Jody had just said, the homeschooling or kids pulling, withdrawing. But how is that number figured out? Because if I'm looking at this, I'm just somebody looking at the budget, I'm seeing it in 2016, we had 92.9, and then now we're down to 84.8. What's that change?
It's
And-
done in 4-year bands.
Yeah.
So the class in 2015, they take the class, they take where they were at in 9th grade, and how many of those kids completed
Right.
school in 4 years?
And I think that needs to be explained in the slide of like how this is figured out, because if you ask my daughter, I started, we'll say 60 kids, and she graduated with, we'll say 60 kids. So to her, that would look like 100% graduation rate from
Right.
senior year. That's not factoring in all those different factors. And I think of what you just said, who started, in 9th grade to 12th grade, I think that needs to be broken down, that number. And I think this would also be a great place to add in what the graduates got, how many graduates we had, how many started in 2019, how many or 18 and graduated in 2019, and how many actually entered college, because this is only showing 60 kids entering college. It might have been only 60 kids, but how many kids did we have? It could have been
It's a
60 out of
percent.
60. Oh, percent, okay, so, only 60%, that's not necessarily accurate for that class. And I would also add in the information of, what these kids got in scholarship money, just kind of boost the morale on this one, because if I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, yeah, we went up 2 points, or 2%,
Yeah, but we're
Your
below
core.
the state average.
but we're
by
below the
10%.
state average, but are we really below the state average?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
That's
So-
why we're an alliance district.
so, what are the factors that brought us there? I guess that's what we need to,
We conveniently
Yeah.
left Woodstock off
Yeah.
this graph,
Yeah.
off this chart, right?
Well, again, that's why I asked Diane this question, because we know how many kids we start with at the beginning of the year, and you would think if they all graduate, that's 100%, going
Right.
back to that. But then we lose track of kids, which we have no control over, and we don't know where they've
Right.
been. Or if 4 years ago, 100 kids started, then
Right.
so this isn't really
Yeah.
Shows it.
very
Right.
representative of our class,
right,
maybe of the age group, but they could be graduating from somewhere else in a different
Sure.
state. We don't know.
agree.
right.
So I think it needs a little explanation, maybe.
It needs some,
We've had students in the 2018 class that enrolled in college, but then decided not.
It's that last column.
Right.
It doesn't make sense
It doesn't,
because
because there's some that have.
Bob's looking at it over a course of a span. And maybe that entering college percentage
Yeah.
might not be,
That's probably close, but it's just, we know our graduation rate, but we have a small population, so it's,
Right.
one or
well,
two's gotta make a big
one or two
difference.
students are
But-
gonna really ding us as far as withdrawals.
right.
Well, that's true. So many of these, statistics, like you were saying earlier, are so, I say population, but I want to be clear, student population driven. We've said it for years, when people complain that, why isn't the budget going down, the enrollment's going down? And my argument always was, look, you can take 50 kids out of the school, regular ed, not talking special ed. You can take 50 kids out of the school tomorrow, and you're not gonna drop the cost. Conversely, you can add 100 kids, and you're probably not gonna increase the cost.
Right.
And people don't understand that. When I was looking at our number there, the per pupil one, where, like Steve pointed out, we're the most expensive, well, yeah, per pupil, but you look at us versus Putnam, they had 100 kids more than us. If we added 100 kids to our school, we wouldn't increase the cost, as long as they're, regular ed kids.
And they're gonna be.
And they're gonna be spread out over,
Right, they can't all be in second grade.
no, of course not, but they're gonna be spread out over 13 grade levels. It's nothing. And that variation is what people don't understand.
Right.
The difference between, 900 kids and 1,200 kids really isn't a lot of money either way. And here's another example where our population skews the statistic,
Yeah.
Right. So I guess,
And even in a slide like that, go back to that slide. So, somebody in the audience could look at that slide, if you didn't have to enter in college, they always compare us to Putnam, right? They're gonna say,
Right.
oh my God, you're asking for all this money, you only graduated 84,
Exactly.
.8, and Putnam's graduating 96.9, I mean,
right,
it
and that could be a
does-
matter of 3 kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, those 96.9, you wanna take it a step further? Oh, wow, we beat them by 3% on going to college. So wait a minute, they graduated, but then what?
But those
Right.
3 kids could have withdrawn and been homeschooled.
We don't know.
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
which we have no control over. It's not like they were
Yeah, I think this is
flunking
like
out.
a
It's a
really
tough
confusing
graph.
But it's a very,
graph,
it's a
so-
very tough thing, because the average person's that's what they're gonna look at, that last column.
Right, people like that graduation rate, but it's just not,
Yeah.
it's
So
not a
we
very.
just
Not compared to other
decided
schools.
that we're going to remove the
Because
Misleading, right?
those 3 could have gone to Bartlett, graduated there, and it
Anywhere.
digs us.
It could have gone anywhere.
Especially being a border town, I think
Because
sometimes
you
it's
have
that exactly what I'm talking
You're
about.
right.
Right,
It's
yeah.
redundant.
Because we're that border town, and they're not counted in our state anymore, they're in another state.
Even if they're in college, one, fine, yeah,
Here it says
it's good
Woodstock.
up there, but what if
I
10
think
of
it's
those
taken
kids drop
Let's
out of
just
college?
Which a lot of them do.
Yeah, okay, you're right, take this one out, very good.
It's, you know,
Well, so that's like Mary.
We're removing slide 60.
I think we can lose the graduation one too, because
I think,
it's too
yeah,
confusing.
it's not.
So they have 100% college
All right,
acceptance.
the staffing levels,
That's all they want. They could care less what happens to the extent.
absolutely.
I don't know if
I think the staffing levels is a good one, except for I question Woodstock now. Did that one include the academy? I don't-
No.
No. And then I would put the stars next to Brooklyn and Woodstock to say it does not, that's only grades 1 through 8.
Yeah.
How do we know that's what it is? You said yes, but how do you know?
Well-
Well, they don't have a high school.
I know they don't have a
Oh,
high school,
she's
but how do
talking
you
about
know,
numbers.
how do you know it doesn't include?
Well, we'd have to ask, but I don't think they can run the academy with only 146 teachers.
Yeah, and, yeah.
There
All right,
is no
all right,
way.
I just don't like people saying no without having
Well, I
a backup,
understand where
you
you're
know?
coming from, but I would presume, if I'm looking at Brooklyn, who has 153,
I agree.
you know they don't have a high
No,
school.
Wait a minute.
Logically,
Actually, ours is not right anyway.
Because Brooklyn has 200 more students
Our
than us,
column
and we
isn't
have
right. We
more.
have 2 library media specialists. We only have 1 library media support staff.
Well, that's, all right.
It
Well,
makes
then
the
you
numbers
misclassified
correct.
somebody.
Yeah, because Brooklyn has.
Well, this is
students
last
than
year's
us,
numbers.
But we're looking at,
Well, I'm not saying they don't, but I mean, how does Woodstock
This is
run
2019.
run their academy?
Oh, it doesn't say that,
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, 2019, but still, how would they run their grades 1 through 8? They got 2 campuses.
But
And
this
how
is-
would they run the high school with 2 campuses?
Where did we get these numbers?
This is from Insight, and the information is off of the ECS.
Okay,
I
well,
mean, the report that I do at the end of the year.
if we're going to show this, we gotta check the numbers, and I would check to make sure that Woodstock does or doesn't, huh?
We've never shown this before.
Well, it's a good number to show, if these,
not
if,
when we show them, we've got more staff.
76.2 teachers.
no,
Well, I guess it would be good to show in the sense that we are staffed well.
But we're
And
not.
we're not, we're
well, we're
understaffed.
under Putnam, we're way under Plainfield, but they have a lot more kids. Putnam, it's good to show that we're under Putnam.
Relationship, what are we
Okay.
comparing? About
Yes,
this
yeah.
though, is the needs of every district are very different.
Right.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true,
it's very
too.
I mean,
graphic.
we could have 26 kids special ed and, you know, Woodstock or whatever could only have 3. I mean,
Right.
I don't know if I like this.
All right,
I
well,
agree.
at least we should show our,
Let's
can we
get rid
show
of it.
our staffing?
I think we should just make
Get
sure
rid
of the numbers, because when I asked regarding special education, what's that number say?
53.
When I asked how many staff we had for special ed.
Yeah, I know.
53. This is only showing 26.
Yeah, I know,
28.
so, yeah, we better
I
just show our staff.
I would straighten it out, make sure it's right, but I think it's important that
It's
people know how many people are employed here. We
Let's-
are responsible for a
Yes.
huge payroll.
Let's
Yeah,
just make
no,
sure
we don't
it's,
need to show our staff
make sure it's
anyway.
accurate.
But do we
Yeah.
need the
Yeah,
other
the
towns?
towns.
Why do we need the other
Could
towns?
care less.
Well, maybe we don't, so, but at least show our staff.
We need just
Exactly.
Thompson. I don't have, I think the other.
And
towns-
I
make
don't
sure the numbers are
understand the
right and
decimals
classified
for
correctly.
teachers.
We should put current
The what?
20.
The decimals.
Yeah, we should
Like
put what the
76.2.
budget includes, which is current, right?
Is it because they share duties?
Because we've always had
Maybe.
like 179.5
All right, we will do that.
full-time
And
staff.
from the payroll register.
Yeah, this is not, because it was basically, first of all, this was in last year's appendix. This slide was included in the last year, but
Okay.
this is not from payroll, this is from 2019, so it's not from the current payroll. It's to compare, basically what it is just to compare some of the surrounding towns. Brooklyn is pre-K to 8.
Yep.
Woodstock is the pre-K to 8 district.
Okay.
Okay, this is by district, because it's actually, it didn't make any sense to post Woodstock Academy because it would just be a high school. I mean, I can pull the information for it. This is all based on the EDO 01 report that has to be done in September, by September. And it has every one in the state, but I think what I was trying to do is to get a sense when people compare stuff and they say, oh, you got too many administrators. Well, how many administrators do you have compared to other districts? And how many?
We're gonna ditch the next slide too.
Yeah.
We don't need that, no, we don't even add this stuff.
Yeah.
You get rid of say, we don't need to show that, we're the second highest paid town in the area, we don't need to show that.
So, yeah, comparisons.
Size, this is great for our information, I don't think we need to show this. No, we don't need to show that. It's great for our information, but.
Comparisons.
This is kind of neat, school age population. This is from that study that they did.
Yes, from the Connecticut State
Yeah.
Data Center.
This is a skewed.
Not just projected? Yeah, this is, yeah, but all this shows is that that study was wrong.
Even with the two new.
Because when we built the early childhood thing, we were
Yeah.
supposed to have 1,600 students.
Yes, right.
Back then, that was 2012 or something like that.
Right.
So this is, means,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we don't need to show that. So that means we don't need to show the graph that goes with it.
Yeah.
Not that the study was wrong, it came to
It was just,
Can I,
an incorrect
it
conclusion.
wasn't right.
can I just add something if we're gonna talk of, well, if something's brought up about how there's the houses that are being built up in Quinnebog,
Right.
there's houses being built, we could see a huge jump. I know I keep talking
Yeah,
about
we
this,
could.
I'm
There's-
concerned about, I mean, I'm
There's an
happy.
opportunity for
There is
it.
a great opportunity, but along with opportunity comes special ed costs comes.
if they
Well,
put, if they
possibly.
put those 300
Yes.
apartments down in the mill,
That too,
Right?
we're gonna be in big trouble.
yeah.
Even
Well,
if
not
half of,
necessarily,
half of,
because
if
they
half of
don't
them
run
have
10 years from now,
school-age
it's-
children,
They may or may not.
if half of them do,
Yeah.
Like, we can't
28%.
absorb, this school was built for 1,400 kids.
No, the issue with
No,
all
no,
this
wait.
housing coming in is, take the average. If there's 500, okay, say there's just 200 additional children. How many of those are gonna be special ed costing us 80 grand?
26%,
right now, 20%.
whatever.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, but
You
you have to
by
go on
averages.
average,
You gotta
right?
go on what
You
the
gotta go on,
facts are.
right now, well, right now, 26% of our student body population
Right,
is
but
special
if we're
ed.
building brand-new homes,
Yep,
and we're built at, the average home price in our
These aren't-
town is 250.
this isn't low income I'm talking about.
No,
Just
that's
special
what
ed
we're
needs.
talking about. It's not low income.
Right.
And those apartments in the
Do you,
middle.
do you think that people that can afford a good house, their kids aren't special needs?
Special
I
education,
totally agree, Bill. No, I
So
am
an
not saying
average
that.
is an average is an average.
Right.
That's all you can
Alright.
talk about.
Okay, but go back a few years ago, our average wasn't 20.
sure, but even if our average is 10%,
But we didn't have the
Okay.
growth.
even if
we
our
didn't
average is
have-
10% and we get 200 kids
Yeah.
out of these 100 new
20
properties,
special ed
that's
kids.
20 new special ed kids. That's where we're in trouble.
Right.
We need to start talking about that and keeping it out there, that's all.
We do, because
Yes.
if those apartments come to fruition,
Yep.
we certainly have the space for it, but we may
Yes.
not have the staff for it.
And by
That's
the way,
That's what
That's
that
correct.
was my point.
that's a 10 to 15 year project,
Well,
just so
whatever,
everybody
whatever,
understands.
whatever.
We're
Right,
not-
so
Yeah, but the
that's,
houses
that's.
are-
No, the houses
We
aren't,
are
but-
looking at these houses coming
Yeah, I
in
know.
That-
Right.
That's
relatively
coming,
soon.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but we need to make that aware.
Okay.
3 to 5.
The mill?
Somehow,
The mill is
slide
10
17,
minutes.
10
I
to
asked
15.
a question in the
put
meeting.
in the
He said to
PowerPoint,
take
but
minutes.
it's the Wyndham County
and he's
mill
done more
rate,
than once.
FY 2018.
Now drop those because every town
Yeah.
offers, every year we try to put this in and every year we drop it out because it has nothing, it's apples and oranges. Every town offers different services.
And then the last one is the cafeteria slide. I didn't know that.
The total
It's
cost of the mill
self-funded.
project in
It
Garcia
is
is gonna be
self-funded. And that's the
$100
thing
million,
that's
40
on
or
here,
60
that
to
it's
start, and then
self-funded.
40.
I
Yeah.
guess we can leave this in for information purposes.
So we should put self-funded.
Self-funded.
Yeah, yeah, let's
Yeah,
add
maybe.
self-funded.
But also doesn't offset the gen ed tuition in any way. This is-
No,
Right.
no.
But if
Yeah,
you're gonna
maybe
explain
explain
it,
what
explain,
self-funded
explain
means,
it the
too.
whole way.
BOE budget.
No.
So they might ask, why is it there?
Well, because we save up to replace the equipment, any money that it generates.
So it does affect the board of ed budget.
No, it goes on to the balance sheet, and any money that it generates stays on the balance sheet towards
He gets to do it at the pace he
funding
wants to do it.
equipment
You know, there's something about-
replacement
I don't
for the
believe in that
cafeteria.
at
They
all.
can buy new refrigerators and new whatever they need to
Okay,
buy.
what's
You
the
don't remember
Years
this?
ago, it used to pay for half the insurance costs,
Right.
but it doesn't anymore, I know, but it used to. So, who knows, maybe
Depending
in
on
the
it, we'll
future.
start doing that again.
Maybe if we don't lose another $60,000 mysteriously, right?
Well, who knows? Okay, so,
What is it?
do we need to meet Wednesday night, or should we give them time to make these changes? And
There's a lot of changes.
there's a lot of changes.
We certainly want to meet one more time before the
Oh,
presentation.
yeah, definitely.
So we have the third, isn't it?
Yeah, the third, which would be.
Third is bedtime stories down at the elementary.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll be reading.
You
I'll be
too?
reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
The board is asking anything.
Oh, that's at 6 to 7:30.
The
I
meeting's
thought,
scheduled
I
for
thought you had the second on
yeah.
your budget timeline, you have the
Monday the
second,
second.
what's that
Oh,
for?
Monday
Yeah,
the
7
second.
o'clock.
Special Board of
Monday
Ed,
the
7
second.
o'clock.
Yeah, let's do the, yeah, is it at 7 or 6? Six.
Seven.
The one is 7 o'clock.
What's that, that's on the second?
Second.
Yeah.
On the
I'm,
second.
I'm in Virginia.
Well, come
It's
back.
playoff season, so I won't be here.
Can we meet at 6, so we can get through this?
Or you could,
No, I can't,
Everybody
no, I
at
won't.
six.
Yep.
Can we meet at 6
It's
o'clock
done, all
on
you're
the
doing is,
2nd?
all you're doing is cleaning it up. You don't
Where
need
is
me
that,
in my-
here?
yes, we
Yeah.
do. Yes, we do.
Change that to 6.
Danielle, you sent that.
Danielle, you have to.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday's gonna be.
Yeah, there's too many changes to make, so we'll cancel Wednesday night's meeting.
She's gonna do it.
Danielle, whoever
Uh,
touches
phone
all of us.
case.
Yeah, all of you guys
You're in
change,
center.
make the changes.
A lot of,
A lot of changes. All right, so we're gonna meet on Monday, March 2nd. Oh my gosh, what's February? At 6 o'clock.
Here.
And at that time, we need an action item
Yeah,
on
to-
the
to
agenda
vote,
to
yeah.
vote to send the budget on to the Board of Finance.
You can call in again, Bill.
It has to be to them on Wednesday, I think, the 4th, right? Because our presentation is on the 5th. Tuesday, the 3rd at 6 o'clock is storybook night.
And on Wednesday at 6 is that potluck,
Forum.
ask me anything
Town
for
forum.
the town forum.
Next Wednesday.
Wednesday, you're right, Wednesday
No.
is 6 o'clock, ask me anything.
Seriously?
That's at the
So-
library.
She's going.
Busy people.
You're the second man of Thompson,
Well, third,
third man.
Yeah.
third, because
You should have
she's
an
not,
inaugural.
she's not the first select.
Says auditor. I have
She's
all
a second.
the budget public meeting, hearing, 7 at the auditorium, that's what I know.
We're pushing the budget. Do we have a consensus now that we're just going to push the budget forward as it is? No changes to the budget? We're not voting on it tonight, but I just want to feel everybody out.
Well,
Consensus not to change the numbers in
I'm,
the budget?
I, for one, am happy with the number.
Yes.
Sure.
Just a consensus, so we're
well,
not
I don't
voting
wanna
on
look
it.
like
We'll
an
have the
idiot, but
action.
I'm
Yes?
gonna, I don't wanna look like an idiot, but I am gonna be the idiot for a minute. I'm not comfortable with a 6.8% increase.
Well, The reason we're gonna put it forward at the 6.8% is because of the
That's
cuts.
what we need.
Okay.
It's what we need.
That's our job, is to put
That's
forth what we need.
All right, so, all right, as
They-
long as
if
we're
they-
all in agreement
if
that
they
that's our
choose to-
spending plan.
That's our spending plan.
That's our spending plan,
Yes.
that's
Okay,
just,
then-
and we said it right up front, this is to keep us at the status quo for what we
Right.
need. We're not changing anything, we're
We're
not
not
adding
adding
anything.
anything, this is just what we need. to
This is
stay
what we need to keep us where we are.
Essentially flat
Okay,
funded.
Then
Perfect.
if they cut us, we're gonna have to dig deep
Figure it
to
out.
find some place to make those cuts.
Val, do you agree?
Now,
So-
if they
so-
agree to take some of these capital projects
Right.
over onto their side of the budget, that'll help us a lot, that'll bring our 6% down.
Right.
So
Not
then
that
I
they
guess
will,
we
but-
have one thing that we did not put in here then.
Okay,
It should say in there, this 73-page basically is one big thing that says, keep us running.
well, it does say that.
Where?
On page, where'd it go?
That's
Well,
the
I don't
thing
think
that
they
it's
use-
Just saying
maintained
opening it up,
on
saying
our
this
It
is
should
what we
open it up saying, this is,
big, big, big letters,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, see, I thought it was supposed
On
to say, do you
page,
know?
or did you know?
Did you know?
He's gonna get his, did you know it?
Shoot.
That's on video too, I just hit you.
Oh, ow!
Yeah, you better fall out of the chair too.
I won't get up.
I don't know.
Fill out the accident.
Okay, on page 12,
Where?
You can make if you want to put a bold statement up front.
right, on page 12, you have to go to, is it maintain current staffing and continue
Oh, yeah.
to support newly implemented
It's a little more technical than what you said.
programs. We need to say something
Just
big, yeah,
make it
okay.
very clear.
Yeah, one slide that just says, this budget maintains
Maintains
the
status
status
quo.
quo as it is.
Exactly.
Not adding.
About
Not
Thompson
adding,
Public
yeah,
Schools
yeah.
doesn't run on Duncan.
We'll do it.
We need money.
Okay. So we have a consensus pretty much that we'll vote on it next time. This is pretty, I don't wanna make any changes anymore. We're gonna work on, they'll make the
Your daughter was there
changes.
too, right?
Everybody will make the changes to the presentation.
Should have bought it.
Prior to the meeting on Monday, then I can sit down with you and we'll go through the slides and stuff. You wanna do that?
So sure, we would just.
Well, when do you have time?
So I literally.
Okay,
So I left my house.
I make a motion, motion
Citizen
to
comments.
adjourn the meeting?
Citizens' comments.
Oh,
Is it on?
citizens' comments?
Anyone?
In past years, I was very impressed at the Board of Finance meetings where the school talked about all the grants they were getting and how they were really working hard to find other sources. And that was great to hear. And I don't think, what I saw today, you mentioned grants and everything, don't get me wrong, but that nice story about we're trying to find every nickel we can, really added support, I think, to the fact that the township do its share. Now, I'm not sure everybody felt the same way, but for me, I was impressed by, hey, the school's looking for everything they can do, so,
Right.
they're not leaving any stone unturned. I
Right.
like when I heard that, I thought that was impressive.
You knew you saw it somewhere,
That
right?
wasn't original, that was it.
Yes.
Is there any way to include the presentation that you did to the Board of Finance about the cost of outsourcing, because it's still being brought up, and the two board members still have not retracted their statements about it being cheaper, and I've asked them to do so? Is it possible to include some information on outsourcing costs so that it's included in the budget information for the public as well?
You want
I don't,
in the appendix?
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
appendix, yeah.
Touch on it a little bit, but.
That was the one that was presented to the Board of Finance.
It
Right.
was presented to the Board of Finance, yes, and the two that have called for
To look into
outsourcing
it
to
still.
look into it, even though they were provided the budget information, and I know Bob went over the information with one of them who didn't understand math. They have not yet at all acknowledged that in public whatsoever.
Are they videotaping their meetings too?
They are not yet.
Oh, how
And there's
funny
a,
that is. I'm
just to
sorry.
put it out there, because
That's-
I've been asking for a second citizens' comments, they pushed it to the next meeting, so if anybody would happily promote that for me as well, I'd appreciate you at the next Board of Finance meeting.
Now, they did it because it was near and dear to Steve's heart. It's his
Exactly.
fault, he was not at the meeting.
That's,
Sorry, it allows me to
that's
validate
still
people.
something that we should have in the back of, our appendix.
What,
At
that-
some point, it needs to be acknowledged by the Board of Finance
I'm sorry, what needs to be?
At some point, it has to be acknowledged by the Board of Finance that the math is the math, and our Director of Finance has done the math, and it would cost more money to send these kids to another school.
Oh, this is the high school closing.
The whole high school closing thought, it's simple math that anybody can come up and look at and go through the books, because it'll be challenged, but at the end of the day, the people who are in charge of the money in the town of Thompson, as a board, need to acknowledge that publicly, because it's simple math that can be proven. And if they want to show us a different math, we'll listen. Because I write a check for taxes to the town too. And I'll listen to anybody who will explain to me how it's not cheaper. But they can't do it. 'Cause-
Well, you just look at what's happening in Brooklyn and
Oh.
Norwich and.
Lack of control is all, that's been, before we even saw those numbers, I could go on and on about why we shouldn't send our kids somewhere else. And one of those reasons is lack of control over cost and education. But now that it's also more expensive, you really have to work hard at being stupid to still think we should outsource.
Ben Franklin.
Stupider when three of our alumni are the ones that also brought it up.
Sure.
And maybe if we could have like
That
a
be
little
known.
write-up about the Bradley program and what that is. So if somebody's asking, reading the budget, might not know much about the Bradley program, but
Were you gonna put
What
that in
is-
the appendix? I don't know. She was gonna describe it in the end.
right, or
Well,
you
that's
just
good,
have
that's
some-
good, we've given them all kinds of information, they
Right.
can read it if they want, they can ignore it if they want, but then they can't make any excuses, they didn't
They
get
will.
the information.
Right, or when they hear the Bradley School, what is the Bradley School to somebody that's not involved?
It's
Yeah.
a school of theater arts.
Yeah, yeah, Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley Playhouse.
That's what some like say.
Oh, sure they do.
Just one more thing.
Yes, Jessica.
My girls are selling cookies at the transfer station.
Oh.
They're going to
Wait a
be
minute,
passing out voter registration cards at the same time as part of their celebrating community badge. If you have a completed packet at that point in time, I am more than happy to have the girls have that on their table so they can get that out to community members as well.
So I have a question, when are they going?
They will be at the transfer station March 7th, March 21st, and March 28th, because there's a different troop on there on the 14th, and I'm not gonna put that on her troop.
That's amazing.
That's a good thing. We will have them for you by then.
Okay,
Because we're
perfect.
gonna meet on the 2nd and the board is going to approve it and then we can make copies and get them to you.
Wonderful.
Yes.
If there's no other citizens' comments, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.